Welcome back to the basement Blokes. Yeah, that's the name we landed
That's
on.
the name.
The BBs.
the
Yeah.
BBP.
Oh wait, hold on. Leia's eating cat food. This is why you're bid.
You have one job, not to eat.
Leia, we
Come on,
requested no cat food. you, but Kev, please.
I sold her out. I feel bad. She hid behind me, and I just threw her.
I was about to say, I see your foot scarfing down the cat food. It was like, what? What?
You raised your voice at me? Oh no!
That is gonna be the worst fucking burp. Just
burp
just smelling Leia's burp. That is gonna be the worst smelling burp.
Yeah, she's a stanker, I tell you.
Mm-hmm.
The BBs.
Anyways, welcome back to the BBP.
Yeah.
We are here. But yeah, you were talking about Final Fantasy VII.
Yes. Because I finished it fairly recently, and I have no experience. I have very limited experience with the Final Fantasy franchise as a whole.
Have you played Final Fantasy X?
No.
Ooh, I'd recommend
No, that was one that I know that they just redid so that it looks a little prettier. I was probably gonna get it on like Switch or something. But like I played like 15, and now 7 is my newest like kind of dive into it.
15 was a weird one.
15 was a weird one because like it was
Cars and shit.
yeah, and it was so different from everything else because it was like in the other games it's like, oh my god, there's so much story that it's like I'm like, can I play the game? Can I play something? And
Yeah.
it's like, but like this one, it's like the story. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the story.
In 7 or 15?
In 15, I'd say. Well, like with the 7 remake specifically, it was kind of like, all right, listen, we found a way to make this a two-parter, especially because I think they unveiled
Oh, yeah,
it like
that's
7 years ago. So, and they're
I thought it was supposed to be a 3-parter because that's how the original game was.
yeah, like 'cause like all the different CDs.
Yeah, because it was like a fucking Titanic almost.
Yeah. No, I like on one hand I'm like it's like especially playing through this one, I can understand how they'd make it into a 3-parter, but I can't. I feel like there'd be too much like bad faith with the kind of the gaming population because already a lot of like the biggest criticism is that this shouldn't have been just like the first 5 hours of the original game. So I think it'd be a real hard sell to be like, oh, actually this is going to be a 3-parter. Because then it's like, okay, so that's $180.
Yeah,
You're asking everyone to pay.
It's a big time investment.
Yeah, especially when a lot of people were like, listen, this game was like 5 hours of story, but it took me 40 hours.
Jeez.
And it was like, yeah. And
Well, there's
you
much
get
longer,
you get a good amount of content, but it is something where you feel kind of like the parts where it's like, again, I have no experience with the original, but you can feel the parts where they were like, let's add 6 more corridors into this section. And like in both good and bad ways. Like certain characters who literally have a single line and are then killed off. Like, 10 hours later. Or, like a couple hours later. Are now actual characters. So, like, that was a positive. So, it's like, oh, when they die, you're like, oh, that's sad. Versus, like, who?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
But it's a great game, but, I am a fresh non-Final Fantasy veteran, so I'm sure a lot of people have more informed opinions outside of, especially people who played the original could actually attest to this one's quality versus
Yeah.
the original.
My cousin played it. He said it was fun, but it just didn't stay as true to the original as he hoped, I think. Or something like that.
Yeah, and
But
they
that's
and
a
they
classic
changed a lot. Yeah,
criticism of any sort of game that's not like a direct remake. But
yeah,
anyways,
because I know that was like this was like the big one. This
The
was like
big
out of all the remakes,
yeah,
it was like there were a few games that were like, all right, I want to see, because I just read about it too, that it was like back in like the PS3 days, they like showed off like a tease of like Final Fantasy 7 and PS3
yeah.
tech, but then they were like, this is just a tech demo, we're not remaking Final Fantasy 7, and that pissed off so many people.
I'm sure.
And then they were like, oh, back like 7 years ago when they like unveiled, oh hey, we know you want this, so Final Fantasy 7, we're gonna remake it. But it was like, we should not have done that so early because
Yeah.
we had nothing.
Well, they have a massive fan base, dude. Like, I remember my big one was Final Fantasy X because it was almost like it felt like you were playing. It had the fullness of like watching a movie.
Oh, yeah.
Or like a series, like a Game of Thrones type series.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
you like get connected to all the different characters, and then one character's a villain. Next thing you know, you're working with him and stuff like that. It's like it cuts deep into your emotions.
Did you ever play Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah, dude.
Because
Same shit.
I started that dive, and it is such like a
Have you never played Kingdom Hearts?
no, like literally I bought the full collection because my roommate at Christmas was like, I don't know what the hell to get you. My room is covered head to toe with posters, so he's like, okay, I'll get him a poster.
Yeah.
And he was deciding between a DC related one and Kingdom Hearts.
Mhm.
And he was like, oh, he probably played Kingdom Hearts. So he picked the Kingdom Hearts one. It was like, you gambled and lost. But because of this, I will play through the Kingdom Hearts thing.
To be fair, like even if it's a gamble, even if you never played it, that's a good gift, I think.
Oh yeah. And like, cause it was like, oh, I like the poster. So it's like, but I also don't, I want to hang it up, but I don't want to be a poser. I don't want someone to be like, like, oh, like nice poster. Which one's your favorite? Oh, I never played. I liked all the anime characters on it, and Goofy and Donald Duck. Like, I thought that was a nice touch. Don't know what the hell that is, but
that is a weird part of the game is the different like animation styles that are kind of just all together, and it looks kind of weird at certain points. But
and I enjoy that like all of like the Disney related characters are almost just like they act like. Do you remember the Lilo and Stitch ads where it would be like Stitch invades like a Disney movie?
I feel like a Disney Channel thing or something like that.
I don't remember, like, because it was an ad for Lilo and Stitch, but it would be things like, it's like, oh, they're singing A Whole New World in Aladdin, and then it gets interrupted by Stitch flying in a spaceship, to which Jasmine is attracted to this mutant animal.
They're aliens or they're
he's like a scientific like monstrosity by like this
that.
by this Danny DeVito with multiple eyes looking guy.
Yeah.
and then that would like, but that was like the ad campaign. He would like pop into like random movies.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it makes me think of when I see like play Kingdom Hearts. And I see, like, these just full-on anime characters and Goofy and Donald Duck just show up into, like, Tarzan.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're interrupting the movie. Like, oh, who are you?
You just look
I'm
so
Sora.
out of place. Yeah.
I'm Sora.
Heal.
This is
Fire.
Goofy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool, how cute.
Mhm.
Like, all right, go do your adventure now. Like, leave me alone.
Didn't they do like the sequels for that really weird too? Because it was like
it's such
like
a mess.
1, 2, then like 1.5 or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I
No,
don't
like, and there's ones that were like purely like on mobile, like
Mhm.
on 3DS type things, and then there's like 2.8, like
Yeah.
epilogue climax, and it's
I feel like they could have even dove into that a bit more, but I'm sure dealing with Disney and all the animation was probably a nightmare.
Oh, sure. No, and like the fact that like it took them still however long to get to 3.
Yeah.
Just like last year or 2 years ago.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, like so I got like the full amount of them. So that's gonna be an undertaking once I'm done with.
You got like the full set?
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
So I yeah the whole series.
Starting with the one?
Yes.
And
And then
it PS2 or
yeah, the very first one was like 2002 2003.
well, I mean like what
Yeah.
you just got the full set. Is it on like the Switch?
Oh, it's
or-
for PS4.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Because that's the only one I think up until like Xbox just got all of them, but like you still can't buy like a physical Xbox copy of
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts 1 through 3.6 Ultimate Edition.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like when they keep console, what do they call it? Like console exclusive games. They usually don't let go, especially when it's something big like that.
Oh yeah, usually they don't like break away from that. Usually they stick true to it. It's like Ratchet and Clank, like
Mhm.
all like anything like The Last of Us, Uncharted, all those are like no. This is never going to things. But then it's like there are certain ones that as if they're not made by Sony, then
Mhm.
it's like well, I mean we can be persuaded with with
Money.
with the right amount of sweet talk, like the there's a series called the Yakuza series, which I
Yeah,
started up.
Yakuza. I feel like I saw a bunch of like you posted almost like memes of that game.
Because that's the thing. That's just parts of the game.
Yeah.
Like, they're not even like fake, like added on dialogue or something.
Mhm.
It's like no. The subtitles say that.
This was a
That's-
screen grab.
Yeah. That's what they say. Like they ask you a question. It's like oh, do you like boobs? And it's like, yes, no, hell yeah, I love the boobies. Like that's what they'll put because it's just like they don't care.
Yeah.
Which they did. Because they learned their lesson. Because I found out that in the old days with like the original, because all of them are remakes now, they tried an English version, and with Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker himself,
Oh wow.
playing a character, and it sounds so weird and wrong
Yeah.
because so much of the dialogue is not meant to actually be said.
I love the boobies.
Yeah. And it'd be like that, and it's like this sounds like no human being was supposed to say this in English.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how talented you are. No one was supposed to hear this in English.
It's a bit out of place.
Oh, absolutely. It sounds wrong. It sounds like
It's when you watch anime in English, or when that's got a dub.
Yeah, like a dub. Yeah, which that's what it was, but it was like it just sounded so off.
Just blocky, not at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, like any moment of Kingdom Hearts. Like, Goofy, what are you doing? Whale Gorge. I'm just trying to find Sora.
Doesn't he have a shield the whole like he's a
That's
that's like his
deal.
weapon is a shield?
Yeah, and then you got Donald Duck with spells, who's still running up to the boss and like, ice, and then they get stomped on and he dies. I was like, oh, sick! I get to do this because Goofy's just doing this, just holding up his shield.
AIs were rough back in the day.
Yeah, oh yeah. Credit where credit is due. It's an 18-year-old whatever game, so it's like I'm not gonna like jump down its throat.
How old is it? I
It's-
remember it being big in like
It was like
sixth grade.
Yeah. It was like the first couple years of like the 2000s. But I don't remember. Oh yeah,
2002.
2002. So it's like all right, it's 18 years old, and they essentially just kind of made it prettier.
Man, that makes me feel old.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Jeez. I remember JMO had that game and I didn't, and I wanted to like stay in the side and play. He's like, "No, let's go outside." I was like, "But I don't have this.
You don't understand.
This is my only chance."
Back in the day when we had no money, we had to rely on like
The homies.
mom, dad,
Mhm.
homies. You have this game. I do not. I need to beat this game here and now, or else I never will.
Yeah.
And that was like that. Like Like I remember playing. There are certain things like do you remember I played like the Harry Potter games, but I played it on the PC. It is one of the only times I can actually legitimately say like, oh yeah, that game is better on PC.
Yeah.
Because you watch any like PS1 footage of Harry Potter, and it's the fucking memeiest game I can imagine.
I remember playing it on like the PS1, and it felt like it felt so off and weird.
Hagrid's like a melted troll. Oi, Harry, you find some dragons. That would be nice. And it's like, oh yes, just like I remember from the movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I feel like I need to go back but I feel like none of those games will hold up. I mean, Kingdom Hearts does too, but I mean, like, I remember playing you've played on the PS4, right?
yes.
So are you still like smashing X on the attack thing?
Oh yeah. Like they haven't updated the controls or anything.
The little
like
side
that.
thing you gotta like move
Yeah.
it down.
And the like piercing noise that is like when your health is low, it just it hurts, and I hate it. And it's just one of those things where it's like, yes. Like it brings me back to Zelda, where it's just like, you're dying. Hey, you're dying. Excuse me.
You got a quarter of a heart left.
Excuse me. Do you know this? You're dying. You're gonna die now. The game's gonna be over.
Yeah.
But one of those old charms you remember from back then, like lack of checkpoints.
Yeah.
That you're like, oh, cool. Like remember playing like Skyrim, like back when it's like, oh, I'm exploring, and the game says, fuck you for exploring because like there would be like the giant trolls and or the giants, and they would just be walking around like, oh, this is cool. Walk over, its thing would biff you into the sky, and it's just game over. No exceptions. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And it's just like, oh, that's like, oh, when did you save? 2 days ago. Yeah. So
Skyrim is the worst when you forget to save.
Yeah, because it would be so easy because the game doesn't really autosave.
It doesn't.
Unless you go into like a house.
Especially when you can't fast travel to that location.
Yeah.
And you spend like 45 minutes just getting there.
Oh yeah, so then it becomes like.
And then the troll comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. Or like some beast that you are not prepared for and you don't know how to beat it shows up out of nowhere, and then it's just like, oh well, that's fine.
I'm looking forward to the new Skyrim game more than GTA 6.
What's the new
Elder
Skyrim?
Scrolls 5, right?
6? I think it's 6. I think because Skyrim was 5, if I remember correctly.
I've seen some not like footage of
Yeah.
what supposedly gameplay is supposed to look like, and it's basically the same game, but like it looks a lot nicer and cleaner, and they have a little bit more features to make it more interactive and more story.
Because the issue is that like the guys who make it are going through a rough time right now because they just released like that Fallout 76, and it essentially needed like an extreme home makeover to be like to be actually like playable and enjoyable because it was such a mess. But it, like because they like misinterpreted because they essentially like took a Fallout game where the enjoyable aspects of Fallout is interacting with like these wild characters and this and that. And the problem is they were like, okay, here's a Fallout game with no NPCs that nobody interacts with.
Isn't Fallout basically like a post-apocalyptic Skyrim made by the same people?
Yeah. Like essentially like the same kind of structure.
Yeah.
Where you go around and do like quests and things like that. Yeah.
Is it Bethesda?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Elder Scrolls, I mean, Skyrim is still. I've only played one of them, and I've watched a little bit of gameplay of Elder Scrolls Online, which is basically a glorified RuneScape.
Well, it's a World of Warcraft. More.
Yeah. Because they clearly.
I bought it and didn't play much of it because no one else was on there. It's like I feel like no one plays this game.
This feels like Fallout actually because everyone else is gone.
Hi, baby.
All of human life is extinguished, and I'm just running around like, oh, cool coins.
Skyrim is still the greatest game to beat, man. Like, it was like playing a movie. It was
man.
That's the only game I could ever sit and start playing at like 9:30 at night, and all of a sudden the sun's coming up.
Oh
Skyrim.
yeah. Skyrim, was one of the few times like where again it released at the perfect time, and for a lot of people it released at the right time because they've re-released it 9 times. So literally any time to exist is now the right time because you can play Skyrim on your Switch, which I would have loved like way back in the day, and I almost bought into, but it was like I got like the Skyrim the first time they re-released it. I got that version, and they actually included mods to make it look, sexier than ever.
Yeah.
So it was like, all right, well, I already have that one. I don't really need a portable version.
Yeah, that is one of those games that I feel like.
But
for
it would be
me
great for that.
Is better to play on the PC. But
which like that's the general thing.
what'd you see?
Who just passed away? Mel Brooks.
No, Mel Brooks didn't.
No, but Mel Brooks tweeted about something.
Mm-hmm.
Passing away.
No, wasn't. He said something about Dick Van Dyke.
Because it was Carl Reiner's his name. He was in like. Did you ever see the Ocean's movies?
My brother, big fan. I've watched, but I've never watched. You know what I mean? I was in the same house as he's watching it.
Yeah,
and
you
watched about
heard
15, 20 minutes of it, and then I would run around.
At any point was an old man in there, like an old bald guy.
What's his name?
I remember George Clooney doing Bernie Mac, right?
Yeah, Bernie Mac was in it too. Yeah, which I miss Bernie
This
Mac.
dude
Man,
died.
rest in peace.
Bernie Mac was great. Yeah.
Do you know his infamous comedy show where he goes out and I ain't scared of you motherfuckers? You know that part?
I don't think so. No.
So Donald Rawlings, he was a.
Did you put car?
I put cars in an auto filled with
It's
cars.
like, oh, did you mean Cars starring Owen Wilson? Like, no, not that. Thank you.
Not this time.
I looked this up any other part of the day.
98.
Well, no, because
Did the Rona get him? Or
well, I mean, he was 98 years old. He's an old boy.
yeah.
Which I mean, what a life. What an amount of time to live.
98 years.
You know,
man.
every time I hear that someone's
I need to make 3 digits.
I always get worried.
No, who do you think of when you hear someone hit 100?
Who do I think of?
Yeah, there's one person in particular that I always think of, and I'm always like, is that person still alive?
Oh, Betty White. Right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
She 100?
How old is
No,
she?
she's in
She's
her 90s.
got to be 100.
She's 98, like 97.
She's close.
She looks
1922.
98, so she is 98.
98.
Good lord.
But she seems like she has so much life.
She's doing
I don't know
she's
what
doing.
she's doing actually, but
I can't believe she's 5'4". My understanding is all old women just lose.
well, she used to be 5'6".
Yeah, I was about to say she. In all fairness, at the peak of her
They check
growth.
every 6 months. She's been.
Yeah.
on her way down.
She was 6'7"
Yeah.
in the Golden Girls years, but
Dude.
nowadays.
Hold on.
But do you remember Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah.
Do you remember the one guy who was the older guy who was losing his shit? It's like, you spent $50,000 on one dinner.
That was his dad, yeah.
That's the guy who died. That was his dad.
Oh, Jesus.
That's
The character was.
That character,
Yeah.
the actor
The
who
actor,
played that
yep.
character. That's his dad is Carl Reiner.
You mean the guy that played Leonardo's dad?
Yes, it's been so long since I've seen Wolf of Wall Street, but
Mhm.
the one who was giving them so much shit for overspending their money and wasting it.
Them appetizers cure cancer.
Yeah, exactly.
Wolf of Wall Street is still a fucking great movie.
I am your guys' Jamie. So if you need me to look something.
Wolf
up.
of Wall Street.
I was about to say yeah. Let's
Absolutely
Max.
legendary.
Oh yeah, Max Belfer. Okay, so that was his dad. So yes, the guy who played that guy's dad. Which Rob Reiner, he directed The Princess Bride.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He's
The more you know.
again, both of them are have had great careers. Man, he's gonna be in the Princess Bride TV miniseries. Whoa. Wait. Hold on.
This one?
Now they're doing a lot.
TV miniseries 2020.
Wait, hold on.
Ooh,
What is this? Could you click on
I
this?
can click. I just saw that Fran from Dodgeball is actually a bombshell in real life, and I kind of want to see.
No, don't
a
click on that. That's spam.
side-by-side.
That's spam. You are not gonna believe
I
what
was
she
pulled
looks
in.
like.
I was pulled in.
Josh
Josh Gad.
Josh Gad.
Jennifer Gardner.
Man,
What?
what was Josh
What?
after
There's
Frozen?
two?
Josh Gad, everybody threw him in.
Wait,
in
Common?
Hollywood.
Common is what?
Common's making a little comeback in
Who did,
acting.
who okayed this?
I'm very confused.
Yeah, is this a hypothetical thing?
Maybe they're putting it together because there's 2 Princess Buttercups.
I was about to say, is
Tiffany
this like a
Haddish.
dream casting kind of thing where someone's like,
Well, one of them's Tiffany
If I-
Haddish, one of them's Jennifer Gardner. That's
if-
completely different, opposite directions.
listen, like, yeah, it's like I don't think when you're like, all right, Jerry from Liar Liar, it's like, all right, we got to replace him. He was perfect as Wesley in Princess Bride. Who should we pick? Common? Come on, come on, don't you? Come on, you see it, like,
Man's articulate.
Same guy, basically.
yeah, and it's like maybe I don't know, but like I know like the original grandfather from the first like Princess Bride like died. It was like
Yeah.
Peter Falk is gone, so
Yo.
it's like he can't,
Damn.
he can't do it. I mean he died a while back, but
Selma.
I feel like we're about to see a lot more African American like.
oh
main
yeah
lead
yeah
actors.
wait yeah scroll back up. Yeah, so for
Bang.
Princess Bride TV series short, the Princess Bride TV miniseries, none of this is real.
Yeah, I can't.
There's no way. Because I remember seeing like a post that the guy who played Wesley in the original was like, they were like, high level executives looking into how to make a new Princess Bride, and he's essentially like, there are some things you should leave untouched,
Yeah.
and like that was one of them. So it's like I don't think there's any like confirmed like things. Because it seems like very, especially with the 2 like Princess Buttercups. It's like, all right, listen, if we can't get Tiffany Haddish, then
Yeah.
get Jennifer Gardner. It's
Yeah.
like, well, no, they're not cast yet.
Wesley, hold on. Wesley and the Princess Bride. That was the main dude, right?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah. That was the main
The-
guy with the mask. Yeah. So yeah, pull it up. It's because the Princess Buttercup was
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Jenny from Forrest Gump.
Oh. Nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and he was also in Robin Hood Men in
Oh,
Tights as
That's
well.
that's
That's
this
how
is
you
the
know
real
him.
face.
Yeah.
It's got to be around the, or I guess it's 5 years
Yeah.
later, but still, that's
We,
the face.
Robin Hood is one of those we've had a lot of iterations of, but I just feel like nobody's done it justice.
I
For
don't-
How
Yeah.
potent of a story it is.
There's cause there's a certain thing like cuz I saw the one with like Morgan Freeman back in the 90s.
And that was pretty decent.
cuz that one was like super cheesy, and also because
Yep.
they picked a guy who can't do the accent or like couldn't do
Kevin
like,
Costner?
yeah. He was like for whatever reason the guy's talented enough, but evidently that was like the one thing was
Mhm.
just like it's like it didn't work out right. And then you have like Alan Rickman who just steals the movie because it is a beautiful thing when like a performer just doesn't give a shit, so they'll just like go for it.
Yeah.
You see Willem Dafoe do that a lot. When it's
Oh.
like it doesn't matter how bad it is or like whatever project, he will just give it his all, which is just it's a lot.
He needs to be Joker.
It's a lot of
He
fun.
needs. I need to see that man Joker before I die.
I think we need some
He's-
time off the joke.
No, he's an actual like comic book
He's
could
got,
play
like,
that man.
what
The
his-
voice, the way he played Green Goblin, like directly translates to like twistedness, maniacalness of.
Me and you, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Me and you, Batman.
I'm saying it fits. It fits the comic book boy. Like
Yeah.
I would like a Johnny Depp too. though.
I would love just a complete like he does the exact same voice, doesn't change a
He
thing.
doesn't have to.
You. Which like that like it I do that I just default to like over the top like Spider-Man villain voices a lot, like Kingpin in Spider-Verse. Spider-Man. I do that a lot too.
I
Something
like
about that, or Bonesaw. Do a lot of
Oh.
Bonesaw. I got you
I-
for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of playtime. That's a personal favorite of mine. I just had an aneurysm. Excuse me.
I remember in like the Spider-Man 2 like PS2 game, it was that to a T, like to the max, like almost like cheesy voices.
Yeah.
I love that.
I do
though.
remember that.
That is so good because I don't know. There was an honestness in like being willing to be cheesy because there's something about like the MCU, the way they do it is like I think they try to be in on the joke. They try to be ahead of the joke to the point where it's like they're not being honest. It's like they make a joke out of the movie to the point where the movie becomes the joke, to where it's like no, the original Spider-Man just has a guy named Bonesaw McGraw that says, "Hey, freak show, you're going nowhere." And it's like, in theory, that is hilarious. Or just having a random extra just go, "Cage!" and it's like, but like, it's like, that's not a joke. That is just a random extra yelling "Cage" to the camera with the most excitement a man can have. Yeah. And like it wasn't a joke. It wasn't
was on
the
camera and they told him he
was just
lived
like,
for it.
It was like, listen, you got one line. This
He
movie
lived
could
for
be
it.
this movie could be iconic. So make sure it's good. It's like Cage. But versus like, like essentially like you notice how the MCU like undercuts a lot of their like the epic moments, like with like a goof or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you see what I mean? Like that's the difference. Like the Spider-Man movies and this and that will like have a lot of cheesy moments and a lot of humor, but it's not like when they're like, that's it. I like like shit's getting real. I'm gonna go be a hero. That stuff's taken like fully serious, and like I think in a way that adds to the charm. Is just like no, we're like, because like Spider-Man is cheesy. Like that's kind of the deal. I mean, you have a guy named Rhino. You got like Mysterio that wears a fish dome on his head, and things like that. But something about it just like continues working, and I think it's because characters like that, when taken seriously in terms of like respectfully, you would like the people who create it have a respect for it. It's always worth seeing because it's like I think that's why like I think a lot of people get hesitant when they see something that's maybe different from what they've come to expect of the character, especially whether it's something where it's like maybe a take is darker or it's even if it's lighter. It's like I think either can work. I think all that really matters is just I guess do they have an idea like what?
Stay true to the character.
Yeah, do they have a good idea like where they're going? Like if you're experimenting with a well-established thing, are you doing it because it's like, listen, I have a vision that I want to see. Like I've always wanted to see this version of the character. Because then I'm intrigued no matter what, even if I'm like, nah, I disagree. Yeah. Kind of like the whole thing of like the big thing with like pretty much every Batman is like, no, Batman doesn't kill. So like the second like an iteration of Batman kills, it's like, no, it's a bad iteration. When it's like, you guys, we champion like the Tim Burton one, which I just rewatched. I rewatched both of them.
Mm-hmm.
The dude like straight up like like a goon pulls out like a bomb, and then he shoves the goon into like a sewer so he blows up. Yeah. He ensures he blows up. It's like he kills people to the point where he damn near tries to run over the Joker with his plane, but the Joker shoots him with like his extendo revolver, and that's the only reason why like Joker isn't like smeared on the pavement, because Batman was just like, nope, here I come, because Tim Burton's wild, man. He's just like, I don't care, man. My Batman's gonna run over the Joker with a plane.
I remember that was a big deal with the Man of Steel movie.
Yeah. Yeah, because because it's like, well, I mean, that's not really.
Well, the way they did it, there was well justice. Like he forced him. He said, "If you don't kill me, I'm killing everybody."
It's like, yeah, dog, like this like family I'm about to like heat vision, like they're just a small sample. To which it's like, okay, like moment of truth, then he kills him, versus like, you know,
he pushed him to the very edge.
That moment almost played into the whole development of Superman as a character. That he
right?
never
It's like,
kills.
oh, that was
Man of Steel was actually like, after in hindsight, you've seen how DC played out, but Man of Steel gave me so much hope for that franchise. Man of Steel was the movie for me.
Well, and that was the thing, like, and I think that's what, like, that kind of plays into that, where it's the second, like, no. Like, I remember, like, the original Superman, and the original Superman was a good guy who, like, never punched anybody, was always very nice, and this and that, and it's like, but do you want that?
You've seen the humanity of, like, this kid had no idea who he was growing up.
Yeah, do you want more of that? Do you want more of the same? That's why I'm like, listen, like, if you're gonna have an interesting one, what is she doing?
Well, like, whenever you talk about doing characters, and whenever you talk about rewriting characters,
yeah, I see it.
you always want to make sure you get the authentic parts. And was it Mark Twain who said, like, get your facts straight and then play with them at your will, at your leisure?
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, you make sure you get the core, meaning of this character. Get all the important facts of who this character is.
Yeah.
And then play with those details at will.
Yeah. It's and I think that's a lot of times I think, which is kind of something I'm liking what DC's doing right now, which is like playing with tones and this and that, because you'll have Joker 1 minute, which is this grim dark take about social whatever commentary on mental illness and kind of the government's failure to take care of people that need the help, to Birds of Prey, which is just this bonkers as hell R-rated like thing that's like kind of like Deadpool, but has kind of still like a wholly comedic tone, but with still some serious stuff.
Was Birds of Prey good?
It was very good.
I haven't watched it yet.
Because it had it had a lot of like the action stuff was really impressive. It like a lot of John Wick kind of style stuff, where it's a lot of like hand to hand, like a lot of creative and just uber violence.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I mean, Harley Quinn is uber violent. Her cartoon show, Harley Quinn's cartoon.
I love the
it's
TV show.
It's like a parody of the DC universe for the villains.
Yeah,
and it's amazing.
I also highly recommend Doom Patrol if you haven't
heard about that. Yeah,
because Doom Patrol is another one.
You plugged that on Twitter a couple times.
Oh yeah, I because it's one of those shows that like you don't really know what's coming. Like literally every week. Like it could just be like, all right, we're gonna dive into a painting and dive into multiple paintings. Then there's another episode where this guy's ability is essentially telepathic flexing, where he flexes and it'll like fix a problem. Like it'll be like straight up out of like the old cartoons. His name is like Flex Metallo, and he'll like, Mister, can you get my cat? And he'll like, then like the tree branch will lower, and then the cat will be able to come back down. But there's straight up like a moment where it's like, oh, we need to dive into this comic book, and like if you flex it, you'll open a portal, and he does it, and for whatever reason, everyone starts coming.
Like
he acts
orgasms.
He's like, oh, wrong flex, and everyone is coming. Yes, everyone is collectively orgasming except the robot man who has no nerve ending. So he starts pretending like like he's feeling. It's like what? Yeah. Then once literally everyone finishes, and it's like, wait, why were you moaning? Like I was just trying to fit in, and it's Brendan Fraser, and I love it because he's so good, and I'm so happy he got.
Hold on. Now we gotta adjust.
The dogs are so chaotic today. Man, Leia's full of cat food. Then she's like, "Come on down, Shadow. Come on down, Shadow. The water's fine." That was I think. Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
good. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, because it's keep going, kind of center it a little more. Yeah, that.
Right there. You fix it.
Yeah, yeah.
We're good.
So
We're not.
yeah, that looks good. Because you can see everyone perfectly fine now. But
Man.
yes, and the season 2 just started, and I'm so pumped because it is
The Boys season 2 got announced.
and the
That's
boy
something news, right?
and the boys. I love the boys as well.
I can't wait. The way they ended that first season was
Oh, that
like
was
it's like a
wild.
complete ending of the society of like these are good guys, and now it's like they're about to their plan's gonna go into action.
'Cause
And
it made-
whatever, it's chaos now.
Because it made me think of like Kick-Ass meets Watchmen, where it's
I've never
like,
watched Watchmen.
oh yeah, so like Watchmen is, well, actually picture The Incredibles but rated R, essentially.
Okay,
Not
that's
and
Watchmen?
not, like the original Watchmen, not like the show,
Yeah.
because the show's like completely different. It's like a standalone thing.
Mhm.
But like Watchmen was essentially just kind of like critique, like a commentary on like superhero stuff about how, like, can superheroes, if they were real, be good people? And it's like, or do they do heroic things for their own selfish
Yeah.
reasons? And then like mixed with like, Kick-Ass, which Kick-Ass, is like a raunchy kind of version of just like, what if a dude just kind of got amped up, put on a costume, and started fighting crime?
Mhm.
And that's what the boys reminded me of, like kind of the critique of like, oh, if superheroes were real, oh my god, they would be like
Well,
scary.
this man's unchecked.
Yeah, they would be scary
Unchecked.
because what are you gonna do to like Homelander, or what are you gonna do to like a guy with super
And
speed?
think about their psyche. Like you raise them in like a research lab. Like they still have
Yeah.
they're still human psychology,
yeah,
but with
Yeah.
unchecked power.
and you treat them like celebrities, so then their ego gets going, and then they're like, shit, I am untouchable.
And then you
Iron
see, like-
Man 3.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm super pumped for the boys as well. Which like is crazy to think it's made or produced by Seth Rogen. Seth, like the guys,
Boys?
the guy, yeah,
I never knew that.
yeah, because they did, him and Evan Goldberg are the same ones who did like Super Bad and like all the and like This Is the End, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty much any Seth Rogen thing is like the two of them. But like they did like Preacher, which was on AMC, which was like this wild. It was like another one that was like written by the same guy who wrote The Boys, essentially. And
It just freshened up the superhero genre to me.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was
They
like
did
a
good
new
stuff.
taste. It was
Mhm.
amazing. What
Oh.
did Terry Crews say?
Oh,
Did you
Terry
guys- did you guys hear
Crews.
about Terry Crews?
No.
Oh,
What'd he say?
no.
Well, I heard what he said some shit before, but I think he said some new shit. Do you know?
I want
Because he said some Black Power shit before,
he
right?
he really, he either has a bad PR team or he just like
White
he'll-
liberals don't like hearing from black men.
No, it was more hang on, like
with
pull
their
it,
own independent thoughts.
because he says I don't know if he like deleted it or anything, but
Hold on. Give me a second.
yeah, well, because his PR team must be like furious with him.
We must ensure
Oh yeah,
hashtag Black Lives Matter doesn't morph into hashtag Black Lives Better. Many activists push back
See,
against the state.
I understand why people are
he-
mad because it's like I feel like that
he
doesn't
got-
need to be said.
oh
right
no,
now,
this,
but
the
it's like,
second you
he's not wrong.
see like 34,000 retweets and 18,000 comments.
Yep.
It's like, oh no.
If you are a child of God, you are my brother and sister. I have family of every race, creed, and ideology.
And it's like that, like, sure.
Stop at that right there, you know?
I was about to say, literally end there.
Yeah.
And
We
then,
must
like,
ensure
you were-
Black Lives Matter doesn't morph into Black Lives Better.
the second he said that, it was like, oh, buddy, why did you say that part? It's like, oh man, if you just ended, if you are a child of God, you are my brother and sister. Bam. Everyone's like, thanks, Terry Crews. But
Uh-huh.
it's like now it's like, oh, Terry Crews, why'd you do that?
What do you
I mean, because he felt he needed to.
what do you
yeah.
what do you guys think he's trying to say? with
I
that?
think he's trying to say like,
Curb that anger. Curb your anger.
Like,
and get focused.
but like this comment, I guess would make sense if we were like making massive strides.
Yeah.
Like as a
No,
movement.
it's definitely premature saying.
Yeah, like this
Definitely.
this is like what future are you in right
Yep.
now? Like
Where
what
this is,
future
we
are
haven't
you?
even gotten equal yet.
I was like, bro,
how are we better?
Bro, we haven't passed any like legislation. We're like barely getting to arresting people who
And
did
that's-
wrong things.
That's
like,
why it's definitely didn't mean to be said, but like
Oh.
for people to get that reaction for him to it, like if you don't like it, don't give
'Cause-
it your energy.
Because the problem
Don't
is,
give it your
like
energy.
he really is bad at choosing his words
Mhm.
sometimes. This isn't the only time he's said the wrong thing.
Because he's just like he's a very
I-
authentic and like wants to be uplifting. He wants to say
He
what-
wants to say something like that. It's like
Mhm.
very wholesome, but it's like again that like the thing.
slightly out of touch.
The thing everyone
Yes.
accuses celebrities of, which is being out of touch.
He's probably in a very interesting case because like he is a black man that has probably more privilege than
Oh yeah. Oh, and he's been wrong because he dealt with.
He was sexually
ver-
assaulted.
He
Yeah,
was,
yeah,
yeah.
like, and that was the thing. It's like, but then I
But,
think
like,
By white men.
He probably you know he's done. I wonder if
no, you're just you leaving up his TikTok of him shirtless. I can't focus.
Yeah.
Please scroll something like elsewhere. I can't focus.
I'm sure he looks through the world through a lens that plenty of people
You know,
don't.
it-
And maybe he thinks things are moving faster than they are.
Yeah,
or-
and like, but cause I'm trying to think, cause I know there was something else he said fairly, cause I think it was someone, a black woman who was dealing with, prejudice in some manner where it was like, I think she spoke out of being wrongly treated, and he, in a sense, if I remember correctly, said essentially like, hey, like don't, like
Well-
maybe like don't be so mean. So essentially, maybe don't say anything. So it was essentially just kind of like, hey, maybe if you're being judged, don't
he's
don't
silencing the
don't say
voices,
anything. Which
yeah.
was like, no, this is like that is why. What does this take?
Yeah.
Why are you saying this?
Well, this is I think it highlights there's a problem that we just don't talk about at all is like the progressive movement doesn't like when black men speak outside of their agenda
well, sure, but it's
because they think like all black men should they think they're on the side of black men, right? That's what their heart is. So
Yeah.
they think they're fighting for black men, so when a black man says something that doesn't fit their agenda, they think like they don't want their help. But this is I think where a lot of this could help is if I think progressive white men and people and just in general need to learn and get rid of the idea of we can help and save black people. What we really need to do is just get the fuck out their way and allow them to.
will allow them to contribute like.
And that's how we
like
can help them.
everyone
Like,
else.
right now we are in their way.
Well, sure, we're like everything from societal stuff to like business like structure is making it so like, hey, listen, like anything from like getting approved for a loan
Mhm.
or things
Definitely
like that.
support them.
It's like, oh, are they
and changing things.
are they black? Okay, tell them, give them less, even if they qualify for certain things.
Yeah.
Because even what's his name? Oh, this is bad. The guy who John Legend. That's who I was gonna say. John Legend, like, because someone talked about, so it's like something similar where it was like, listen, black people don't have it that rough, and he was like, listen, I got like shut out from opportunities like recently, like, and it's something where just yes, I agree, and like, but I think that's why, because like Terry Crews, this is now the second time
He fucked up.
in a like, and I'm pretty sure he's done it more than 2 times, but this is for sure like the second time in a row he's had like this take that seems very out of touch for someone who for the most part has been like, it seems like a very with it.
This is where people got to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like,
Oh,
stop assuming the absolute worst.
Oh, and that's the thing, and I think people roughly like they'll
It
make.
just shows lack of empathy. Like, you didn't see what he was intending to say. He didn't intend to
Oh
say
no,
anything.
it shouldn't be shut up, Terry Crews.
Yeah.
It should be like,
I
Terry.
see what you're saying, Terry.
I understand.
Now back it up.
Yeah.
Put it in reverse.
So does he think like black
Back it up,
culture
Terry.
is like already there?
that's in
I think
theory that's what it's implying.
maybe he
what
sees like
everybody's-
maybe it's not already here, but maybe he sees it as inevitable, right? The
Yeah.
change is inevitable. So when we make this change, keep in mind.
Well, if we stay this fucking
You know what I mean?
loud, it's
Yeah,
inevitable.
yeah.
But he's almost like taking it down.
But he's almost like, which again, especially for something like this where it's like, no, it needs to be loud and it needs to be in someone's face to be like, all right, like
No, it definitely needs to be uncomfortable, and we're not gonna get this.
people need to be uncomfortable in order
Mhm.
for change to happen. So it's like, all right, fine, I will, like, like certain people in power will be like bend to the will of the loud and the bold. But like I think that's why I think a lot of people see it as undercutting a movement at a crucial time. And I understand why people are upset with him.
Especially since he's done it twice.
Especially because he's he's implied like, oh hey, person who's speaking out against wrongful treatment, don't speak out against wrongful treatment.
Or at the very least, like he's undercutting it. Like,
Yeah, like minimum, I'm sure he
Yeah.
doesn't. Me again, I am giving him the benefit of the doubt because he seems like a great person.
see,
So
that's what. But like you see him and you're just like, that's a free motherfucker. Like
oh sure,
he's
he'll say something that like it's like, listen, this is like straight up. He seems like the guy's like talking to his wife, and it's like, listen, hon, this is really bothering me. I'm gonna make a statement.
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like the way I imagine Barack Obama like talks to Michelle.
Michelle, I gotta
Michelle, I gotta say something.
I gotta speak up. What do you think about this tweet?
And then like I was about to say, because that's for sure like, Michelle, may I say this?
Yeah.
Like it's like, yes, you may. I was like, okay, I am now going to post the tweet. But yeah, and I understand, and right now this is such a reactive time. So the second you say something that could be taken, especially someone who is in a position of power and influence.
It's just Terry Crews is not the guy we need to be taking down right now.
Oh sure, yeah. There are far
It's
more
not where our focus
Yeah.
needs to be at
worthy takedowns.
I don't think people are trying to take him down.
all. It's also like
They're
when
just-
those
they're
when
just
these
being
things
like,
happen,
"Come on, man."
it's
Yeah.
you can look at the comments and you could probably see more bots than not, and then the media and like popular, like not even media, like when you talk about media and you talk about like fake news media, like that's all weird and that's all complicated, but like just like the way social media moves is like it takes something and runs with it, even though the actual people might not have a damn feeling about it, but then they try to gaslight it a little
Mhm.
or make it explode and become
People try
bigger
to
than what it
speak
is.
up, but they don't. It's like you have to choose your words.
This is why like they can still kind of control where you look. Be
Yeah.
careful. Like
'Cause-
it's not worth looking at.
Because speaking of like kind of media taking something and running with it recently, for something that's very trivial, something that's very unimportant, was Anne Hathaway was talking with like Hugh Jackman, and Anne Hathaway mentioned working with Chris Nolan, who did like the Dark Knight trilogy and like all like Interstellar and all those, and she mentioned that like, hey, Christopher Nolan has a policy where he essentially doesn't he doesn't allow chairs. And he was like, oh, because if you're, essentially, you got time to lean, you got time to clean kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then, like to which a lot of people were like, he doesn't allow chairs. Some people can't stand for that long. And it's like, this is ableist and this and that. To which, like, some people who worked with Christopher Nolan are like, listen,
This is
all the crew members have chairs. Everyone working has chairs. I meant, like, all these extras all had chairs to sit in. It was just like, oh, if you're Matthew McConaughey in Interstellar and you have a scene, he's not going to give you a chair to like, all right, that's done with that take. Oh, cool, I'm going to go sit.
Yeah.
He's like, no, we're still doing the scene, so you're not going to sit.
People
So, but again, people took it
were
as
pissed
like,
about this?
yeah,
Wow.
because
People
which
have to
again,
be so
I
bored or
again,
something.
it's something where
They
it's
don't
like,
want to address the problems in their own life, so they like
Yeah.
pick at other
again,
people's
yeah,
problems.
it's like don't be numb to problems when they come up, but take the time to make sure you are
Find- Pick the problems that matter.
Are
yeah,
you being
yeah.
actionary or
Some shit about-
reactionary?
yeah. It's like, all right, take the time to be like, okay, is this like before you tweet out like, Christopher Nolan, you son of a bitch, put more chairs on your set.
Let thy people sit.
It's like, all right, yes, exactly. To which it's like, okay, let me click, let me read the interview, let me
Yeah.
wait a second to make sure that this is actually accurate, and it's like, no. And it's like, oh yes, because if you're filming in like, and even like a oh, what's it called, an extra who worked on like Interstellar or something, like talked about, he was like, he he doesn't allow chairs for like the principal actors, because if there's anyone who's gonna fly out to Iceland to film a scene, it's the main actors who are gonna be like, where's my chair?
Yeah.
So he's gonna be like, well, I'm not gonna give you a chair. I'm gonna give everyone else a chair, because I've been an extra on very small movies, and it's like and it's just kind of like, yeah, you're sitting there for like hours,
Yeah.
because there is a very good chance you are not needed until 7 scenes from now, and so it's like,
And you're eating pizza in the background.
yeah, it's like, because that's how you're paid. It's like, listen, dude, we bought Little Caesars, not extra most bestest. I got the 5.55 Little Caesars pizza, and you get the crust, because I ate the cheese and meat.
Listen, the stars are hungry.
Yeah, I was about to say, because you need exposure. So like that's how extras are paid. It's like extras are paid, and extras in turn pay with 8 hours of their day
Yeah, for some exposure.
of just
basically.
sitting, on the off chance it's like, oh, in this scene, a guy races out of the office. It's like, oh shit, that's me.
Yeah.
The back of my head, it's like, no, don't face the camera, because you'll distract the viewer, like when
Yeah.
they watch the movie. So it's like, yeah, well, it's like, listen, like Chris Nolan isn't going to make extras more miserable than they already are, even if they are in tentpole movies. But yeah, so it's something where it's like, we have to be careful when we, essentially, whose throat we jump down.
Yeah, and what issues are we going to bring up that
Be-
matter?
Because it's, again, I love your energy, but I feel it's perhaps misplaced. Like, again, I don't know what could actually move Mitch McConnell out of existence. But if there's any man who deserves all of the negative energy in the world, it is him, for all the shit he is pulling right now, as well as has pulled.
Terry Crews? Or
No, Mitch McConnell.
Oh, Mitch McConnell. Oh, yeah.
If
I feel like he's almost like the ghost of politics past. That's just sticking
yeah.
around.
He's fucking like Scrooge if he
Yeah.
didn't learn his lesson.
Yeah, exactly.
like he's Scrooge when he listens to all of, like, you will be remembered as one of the worst men in like modern U.S. politics, and well, I don't mind that. It's like, no, people will despise you. People will spit on your name,
Yeah.
and like will hate that you ever existed. Well, I mean, I don't mind that.
Has that always been
Still
like,
got that money.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, seriously, yeah.
For real though.
Oh god.
Has that kind of always been like the position of the Republican Party though? To like be almost like the old
Oppressive?
Scrooge?
Oh yeah. I mean,
I mean,
unfortunately, that's
yeah.
what it's become.
Because the progressives obviously have always pushed for
Have
progress.
tried to
and
like
then
expand on,
Republicans-
yeah.
Yeah, they've always kind of been like, well, guys, maybe we should handle this stuff.
Have you read the Constitution? I think
Yeah.
we should stick to this.
Yeah.
It's quite a page turner.
Yeah.
Like I think the GOP pictures themselves as the responsible dad,
Yeah.
when in turn they're the racist, out of touch grandpa that you're sad made their way to the family event.
And doesn't see the world because they're too busy at their vacation home.
Yeah, it's like oh, like his like LGBT granddaughter just gives her spiteful remarks the whole dinner, and it's like, Grandpa, you are seriously ruining Christmas. Please stop.
Or do you think it's like everybody else's family where they're just like, just don't fucking put it. You know, you're not gonna get through to Grandpa. Okay, we've tried this.
So it's
We
like,
need
he
one
is-
good year.
He is
okay?
he is a wall. Like,
Don't ruin Christmas. Okay.
can you just we'll put your name on the gift. You don't actually have to put any money towards his gift. We're gonna get him a sweater that he's not gonna wear. So don't worry about it.
I don't
But
know, man.
that, like, I think, yeah, that, like, the GOP pictures themselves as the responsible dad, when in turn they are the more out of touch on average. Especially, but again, yeah, Mitch McConnell
The
is
Ken and
such a
Karen.
yeah.
You see that there was someone said like they had a picture of them with their weapons, you know, and her her
my
finger on the
God.
fucking trigger.
Yeah.
But they had a picture and it said like, Fox News is doing to our parents what they said hip hop music would do to us.
Those two and they're like these white
You can
Florida
see,
lawyers
like,
or whatever.
You can see the alcoholism and the pills in her eyes. Her pupils are not okay. They're
What is this? What
fucking
are you
huge
talking
in the
about?
middle of the daylight.
What one?
Just look up Ken and Karen.
Look up
Twitter.
like gun lawyers or something. Like
Ken
it
and
was.
Karen.
So these were the two that were standing outside, right?
They
Yeah.
were the two where the
Okay.
protest was moving past their house, and there were two lawyers that were like had their guns pointed, ready to go.
She had her finger on the trigger.
But like,
That's
well, no,
not-
yeah,
that's
she.
not trigger.
Oh
that's,
yeah.
That's not what you're taught.
Okay,
That's not what you're supposed to do.
I understand if they're inside, maybe with it close,
They went on their porch.
but
No, they went out on their porch to people
But
who
look
were
at the
walking
fear.
in the street, but it's like, no, she's like has a handgun ready to shoot one of them if maybe she probably a protester touches
Yeah.
her
Their property.
a step on her porch.
I
And-
think it was a gated community, and that's why
They were
that
just
was-
marching
I mean,
past.
that
But-
was part of it, you know.
But it was
they're crazed because they're actually feeling threatened, which is like it's wild because
which is so absurd.
they're
because,
not threatened whatsoever. But that just shows how
Yeah,
comfy
this
their
is-
life
because
has been.
look,
Oh,
they're
that's a hell of a fucking thing.
yeah.
Hold
Look
on.
at that. It's like what
We're
are
gonna-
you
we're
what
gonna
are you
see.
gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Hold on, we're gonna see. if this
Like,
can
to
in-
work.
light some motherfuckers up.
Well, no, it's like
On his lawn.
enlighten me in what world? Yeah, enlighten me
Jesus
what
fucking
exactly
Christ.
you're trying to do. Yeah, look at
She
that.
got her
That's-
she has her
that
finger on
is
the
fucked
fucking
up.
trigger.
Yeah,
she
look
has
at
her
that.
finger on the
They're
fucking
on
trigger.
the sidewalk, and she's pointing a handgun with her finger on the trigger.
And
Like,
you can tell she's like clearly her pupils are fucking huge.
Oh, no,
it's the middle of the
she's-
daylight. You can tell she's
again,
clearly inebriated.
Again,
Pointing the
where-
gun at people is
where-
too much.
what is it? What is this plantation house they live in too?
Straight
Jesus.
up.
Seriously. Hang on, which state is this in again?
Jesus
I want to
fucking
call.
Christ.
Oh, it's wait, on.
St. Louis.
Oh, St. Louis.
St. Louis is one
I
of
was
the
about
most
to say,
racist motherfucking cities.
I was about to say they reek of like Florida people, like
But-
that. They look like some Florida
You ever
lawyers.
see the there was an undercover like 90s or early 2000s like
Oh my god!
Jesus
Pull that
but like
up.
look at
That's beautiful.
That
you
is
gotta
a
find a
good
picture of her pupils. There's a picture of her eyes and her
Oh,
pupils are fucking
she's
huge.
scary. She's scary. Also, that gun is gonna smack her in the
That's what I'm saying.
face.
She's holding like this.
Well, that's what I mean. It's
It's
like,
like a-
listen,
Wha-
she'll shoot once, essentially knock herself out. Then it's like, all right, everyone go get her. Everyone.
coming
But then he's got
outside.
this little
But the
rat-a-tat,
problem-
tat tat.
But the problem is he's actually holding it properly.
Oh,
So
he knows
will
what to do.
So he'll
Yeah.
pull something.
He knows
Versus
what to do.
she like, I'm gonna grab the gun out of your safe, honey.
Well, I mean,
don't do
hold up,
that.
hold up. Where's his trigger control? Yep, his trigger control.
No,
he knows what he's doing.
He's
Finger
holding
straight.
it
He said,
properly.
She's like, give me one too. Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Well, no, yeah. Again, like, yeah. Hey, me too. It's like, honey, I really
I don't
recommend.
think
I
that's a
don't do that.
Is
Good
there
idea.
Is there something? Is there something illegal like pointing a gun at someone with your hand on the trigger?
I
Is-
don't know,
It
but
should
that's
be.
you are not supposed to be.
I
That's
guess it
not
might-
supposed to be a thing.
It might be on their private property, so that they might. That might
Oh
be-
yeah. Then we got this guy with his hot take alert where he's talking about Joe Biden's America as if Joe Biden dictated any of this. And he's defending them. Your job is illegal. Don't know what that means. You're locked in your home. Borders don't exist. MS-13 lives next door.
So this is a right. He's saying your job is illegal because you can't.
You
Go
can't
to
go
work
to
right
it.
now.
You can't go to it.
You're locked in
When
your
it's like
home.
neither can anyone else, dude. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not that it's illegal. It's like it's literally not safe. You will
Mhm.
you will die.
I've been working still. So
Touching everybody.
Oh,
shit.
unless you're an essential worker, which
Yeah.
God bless. God bless. I'm sorry. You should be paid. You should be paid doctor wages, but you're not. So
I haven't gotten any hazard pay yet.
so I
It's a
haven't.
bit fucked up.
I haven't been incentivized with the essential worker.
Especially with the uptick in, everybody's
Oh, yeah.
everybody's shipping
If
everything.
anything, it should be like, all right, we're gonna raise it like it should have been like X amount. Now we're gonna raise it like half that amount. Like it should be continually going up as you're like, listen, you still have to work, but things are just getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the numbers of cases is spiking, but apparently the deaths aren't, from what I've heard.
My guess is it's delayed testing for a lot of it. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people did their test however long ago, and then they're just now
Well,
getting the results.
There's a big part of the West Side Bar community that got hit by it, and they're all testing positive. And out of like,
Grand Rapids. West
yeah,
Side?
Todd said out of everybody he knows that's got it, everybody's asymptomatic except for one person. She has no sense of taste. That's it.
Oh yeah,
that's what I heard.
because
that
one of the guys I went to Louisiana with, he tested positive. He had the antibodies for it,
Mm.
so he
So
didn't.
he
He had
had it.
it.
Yeah.
But that was a similar thing where he like immediately, as soon as we got home, he was like, "I lost my taste. I
that
have
was right away, wasn't it? Didn't you say that was
immediate.
March.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was early on.
yeah." So he like either had it like beforehand or something, or it just it. Well, I guess they said give it 2 weeks
Yeah.
for symptoms to show up, not like in 2 weeks symptoms will show up.
Yeah,
It's like
well,
so he
up
got
to
it
2
about
weeks
like
early.
I think less than a week after we got back. That's when his symptoms started.
Did any of you guys ever get tested?
I didn't get tested. No.
I didn't get
Got an
tested
appointment
either.
tomorrow.
Did you get tested?
There's a place in Kentwood that does free.
Which that makes sense
free?
since you work in a bar. So
No,
yeah.
because I was working with people that were at Joey's. I didn't. I'm not working at the bar this week. I kind of told them I'm not until I'm gonna get a test first.
That's good. I'm glad
Which is-
because I
I haven't been around them, but like when we were doing renovations, I was with a couple people that were at Joey's, and Joey's had like 3 or 4 bartenders get hit with it, and so
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm gonna calm down and get a test tomorrow.
or
Yeah.
things like the Bob, which was like operating at like what looked like full capacity,
That's what every bar like.
but it was
they
like
weren't.
one.
They were
one
going
of-
full capacity. No one's wearing a mask.
Unless you see someone at the front door with a little like clicker thing, they're not counting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
Well,
like
'cause they have so
we're at
much money to
25.
recoup that they're just
Yeah.
like fuck
They
it.
were like, we need what we're gonna take what we can get, but it's like you guys don't realize.
Yeah.
no, we're going straight into another shutdown. Straight into it.
Well, which is
I'm
what
convinced.
Likely.
I
and
hope
which is
not.
what a lot of like head scientists are like. You need to like this is non-negotiable because we didn't do this shit correctly
Yeah.
the first time, and now this is only gonna get worse unless we lock back down.
Mhm.
And it's like, sorry guys, but almost every other country did this correctly, and their cases are low, and they're actually like going out at limited capacity.
And they're wearing masks as it's not like fucking
And
America.
right
to
as we
wear
get
a
done
mask
with-
now.
right as
apparently.
we're nearing the end of the first wave, H1N1 comes out with 2.0.
Yeah, we're gonna like every like trend like illness that was like, man, that was scary. Good thing I never like got it. It's like no, swine flu's back.
We don't even know what we're creating when we kill 99.9% of these germs. We don't know that 0.1% is gonna come back as. That's gonna come back with the.
just a bunch of like Smeagol like viruses emerging. Just
like we are this close to Venom.
Did you see? Did you see the second Wreck-It Ralph movie?
No.
Okay,
Haven't yet.
spoilers. There's a part where a bunch of viruses climb onto each other and they form one giant virus.
Like Ultron.
Yeah, that's what these 0.1% viruses are doing. They're all just latching onto each other and they're becoming this mega boss.
We need to come up with what better like. It's so crazy to me that in all of this like none of the focus has been in like, hey, these are ways to boost your immune system.
Yeah, Joe Rogan talks about that a lot.
But
at the same time, it's hard to find other than like the usual shit, like take your vitamins, exercise, like
Get out in the sun. But that's what
yeah.
that's what it is. It's not this crazy. You gotta change your lifestyle. It's just change your lifestyle.
it's be smart. You can go out, be smart. Like which again that like but even again as it shows like even things like okay when you go to Meijer, look at the arrow on the ground. This is a one way. You're supposed to go this way. Everyone ignores
Corona
them.
can't go clockwise.
I'm one of those people.
God damn it!
I
That's
just-
a problem. I'm like, where do I gotta go? Keep my distance. Where do I gotta go?
I'm just gonna stay as far away from your heavy breathing ass as possible.
Yeah.
But it's consistent in that like now I'm like, because again like as I was talking about like I'm like when I go to somewhere like Panera or something, I'm seeing people in the dining room with no mask, and I understand if you're eating, if you're drinking, but it's like nobody has a mask.
Well,
And
because in their mind, they're like, if I don't have to wear it here, why do I have to wear it 2 feet away? You know what I mean?
yeah. And again,
Uh-oh.
Got the dogs.
Another
it's
gunshot.
I was going to say another gunshot.
It came back.
Dang it! Like
They're like, every Tuesday we're gonna come
every
here.
Tuesday, we know they're recording.
So is it just the West Side, or is everyone else getting uptick in fireworks at 2 a.m. in the middle of the
I
night?
don't like. It's
That's pretty good.
like back in the day, it was like, all right, listen, maybe you'll get one like July 2nd, because like it's like, all right, the guy's like, I guess wants to be. I want to be the only fireworks in the sky. I want, I want my neighborhood to know that was
But it's just,
Dale.
like I just know
But
that
nowadays-
these are the ones voting for Trump.
But
like-
nowadays it's June 27th.
These
And guys
motherfuckers
like,
are voting for Trump.
fucking rip it.
Dudes who spend like $200, $300 a week
Why?
blowing up shit.
Yeah.
That's what they're. You know what? Like
Spend $5, give your kids a sparkler, and then they go
Like,
home.
Give 'em
I
away
know
for
you're using
Tuesdays.
their unemployment money on this shit. I know you're not saving anything on this.
I was
I know
about-
how expensive fireworks are.
It's like, oh, cool. I got about like $800 in unemployment. I'm just gonna go buy 800
Literally
sparklers.
blow up my money. I'm literally gonna set my money on fire.
It's like this one. Ooh, this one's called the Silver Comet.
And
It's $300.
I will say this about the liberals. You know, as much as I trash them, like I know they're not the ones out going buying
Wait.
fireworks.
It's like, all right, this was my unemployment payment. Do you guys see it? It's like, no, what?
I was looking at my phone. I missed
Guys,
it. That was $600, guys.
No, I set off 2.
Yup.
I set off 2 in a row, so it screamed more.
You don't understand the lighter control I had to have.
So it like gave a guy who fought in the war upsetting memories.
All these dogs are shitting themselves because of me, and they should.
I spent $600 to traumatize the war veteran and scare all the dogs in the neighborhood. You guys weren't even looking. Dang it! Pardon the language.
No one even put their head out the window to yell at me. That's my favorite part.
the cops didn't even come by to say, "Hey,
It's 7 a.m.
Hey.
Why are you doing this?
cut it out. I'm not gonna take anything or really do anything. But hey,
I was,
cut it out.
yeah, I was about to say, just shut up.
I don't want to come by a 6th time tonight. Okay,
I
guys.
understand. I understand.
Did your mother not love you enough?
I understand we're all unwinding, but shut up. That's all I'm asking.
Also, yeah, if you're setting off fireworks, fuck you. Like, fireworks are. I don't even know. Like, I don't want to trash fireworks because like it used to be kind of cool, but now it's just like we're literally blowing up our money.
I feel like they were cool until I turned like 16, maybe.
Yeah.
and then
Like
I
when
was
I
just
think
this
about
is
like
fine.
the practicality of fireworks, like, dude, do you want to just like watch a movie and like
Yeah.
You wanna
and
see
it's a
pretty lights.
fraction of the cost? It's
Fuck
like
it, I got a projector. I will put on fireworks
I understand.
on this
I've
bitch.
done that one year.
I was about to say, put on like the live like of just fireworks sounds, like hell yeah, dude.
Like a New York stream or something.
Could get some ASMR of just
Oh
fireworks.
yeah.
If that's what gets you off,
It's like
just in more efficient ways.
they're like, do you guys listen to like? Do you guys have any like ASMR that you're like, hell yeah?
Never.
I-
I just you guys taught me what ASMR was, like our
Oh yeah.
our first like trial
man,
podcast.
Man, that was yeah, that was way
It's,
back. I remember that.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I've never. Bria listened to it sometimes, like go to sleep, but I'm just like keep that away from my ear.
Like
Not
like
a
the
fan.
closest to like ASMR is just when like people have silky smooth voices.
Yeah,
Like you listen to
Ron
Kratos speak in God of War, that shit's straight up ASMR.
Ron Swanson.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just like certain voice actors and like and actresses have like just like that. Oh yeah,
There's
You-
a
so goddamn talented.
there's a Calm app or something. Not a sponsor.
Oh, I do.
No free ads.
Sponsor us. Say like I was able to listen to like
Pay
one
me.
one thing, and then I was gonna have to start paying a subscription fee.
I'll edit it. You know the beep app. you
Yeah.
know? You give us money,
Yeah,
we
do you
remove
have-
the beep.
When I was listening to my generic calming app, I said calming, not calm.
I could do those or something like that, like a guided meditation or even like a
Yeah,
white noise.
like where it's like
Like a-
now I want you to picture that
your house
out.
is on fire.
And you're not worried.
and
You're just calm.
Yeah,
You're gonna
You're-
put it out with your mind.
you just realized you don't have to pay your mortgage, but you will have to explain what led to your house being on fire. you're nervous because you definitely left the oven on, and it will be entirely your fault. But you don't mind.
Because you got your second stimulus check.
You got an
And
extra.
have insurance.
You got your extra $1,200 so that you can cry into, as you have no place to live.
Man.
Yes. Yes.
$100
But it's a single check. That's just I can't cry on this too much. This is my only income for the
All
next.
right, I'm gonna pee. Keep it going.
Best of
Yeah.
luck.
But yeah. Yeah, just like a chaotic ASMR where it's like worst case scenario.
You see your house is on fire. That is a manifestation of your mind.
Yeah.
Leave the home.
You see
Come back to it later.
you see a bear. He is not very pleased to see you. You make an immediate fast movement. He really does not like that.
The bear's coming at you.
You were not you
Accept your fate. The bear's gnawing into your internal
Duh.
organs.
gnawing into things. It's even worse than the Revenant made it look like. And
Wasn't that bear CGI too? Isn't that like
It
the
was-
wildest part of the movie?
oh yeah, so it was
essentially.
like they put like a couple like ropes on like Leonardo DiCaprio, and they essentially just like whipped him. Like they like have like three guys in like tug of war mode. It's like, all right, I need Leo to go left. Need him to go right now. Right.
And it's just the director just.
Oh,
He has
just-
no fucking idea what's going on.
Eh.
CGI guys, figure it out.
Let's say, make it so. That was like you remember like all those movies where it's like 127 hours, where it's like, all right, we're essentially all leading up to the arm cutting scene.
Yeah, basically.
That was another one where it's just like, all right, he's gonna be attacked by a bear.
Yeah.
It's gonna be rough.
Dude, I remember watching 127 hours. Like, so when does he cut off his arm? Then they finally get to it, and you're just like, oh.
And it's just like 6 minutes of like dull blades. So, yeah, it's like breaking, like all this stuff. It's just like,
And they did like the high pitch of like when they did.
oh, like the
nerves.
trauma, like yeah, just like of just like.
that fucked me up. more
Oh
than I
yeah. No, like, and that was like a lot of those just like really weird movies where you're just waiting for like, and then there's one really bad thing that happens to this person.
thought. And then you're just like, okay, that's not that bad. Cutting off his arm. I've seen this in other movies, but it's too you forget.
But yeah,
almost.
you forget like it just it's so uncomfortable, and it's like, then you start getting in the mode like, oh, can I do that? No, I couldn't do that. No. It's like, all right, listen, you have a dull, you have like a box cutter.
That's just
Oh,
fucked up because you're.
and also by
stabbing at
yeah,
a stone.
and it's not enough that you just have to cut your arm off, but you also have to break it first and then
Jesus.
cut it off.
I fucking hated that shit.
Oh, and yeah, and it was like, but I
This is
remember that
what
was
I
such
like
like an event like thing where it was just like those movies are interesting where it's like, oh, it's essentially leading up to one really bad thing because like that's the true story is
Mhm.
like, well, not a lot of like crazy stuff happens until then, and then it's like, oh well, I mean, so the movie's about a hiker who didn't tell people where he was going, got trapped in a hole, and then cut his arm off to like escape. Like, okay, that doesn't sound that bad. Then it's like the act. Okay, well, how did he cut his arm off?
Yeah.
In theory, he doesn't have like the jigsaw saw that he's like even doing that, or an automatic. So it's like, or a chainsaw. So it's like, well, how'd he do it? Well, the worst, most uncomfortable way possible.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's why this is a movie that's being made.
It was a really good movie, but
One
one
movie.
watch was good enough. for me.
127 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's just like, all right, listen, we're waiting for the arm scene.
That's
Yeah.
that's basically it was like. I know you guys want to see this.
It's like, all right, develop his character and like make him like full of like.
It was like a PG-13 movie that shows boobs, so like a 13-year-old's gonna say watch the whole movie
like,
so they can
okay.
see the one.
It's like,
boob.
all right, like proceed.
Go on.
It's like a guy who only watches like Hostel and like Saw and like all the torture porn movies. Like, all right, I'm watching like 127 hours. Like, all right, when's the good stuff happening? And then it's like, yeah, like at an hour 40, it's like finally what I was waiting for. The man at his most desperate. Uh-huh. And it's like, all right, let me figure out the logistics. But yeah, That was like it was a good movie, but it was like, no, I don't want to watch that again.
I saw it. I think like the point where he cut through the nerves, or
Oh,
essentially
God,
broke
yeah.
off the nerves. I was like, all right, I'm done. This movie can be over now.
Yeah, but then again, that it borders into ASMR because you're hearing every sound. So then it's like, oh god. But again,
Who the fuck goes to sleep to that?
yeah, it's like, can I?
That's why I can't watch that shit.
Well,
I
not
can't
like
do it. I could never watch Saw.
Oh
Nothing.
yeah, you were the worst with that.
We
shit.
were like freshmen in high school and we were having a movie night for the whole cross country team or something like that. Like
Yeah, yeah.
14, 15. And like they're trying to watch Saw and I was no, I'm not watching it. So I went to the other room. They're like, oh, come on. I said, no, like you guys can watch it. But I'm just not doing it.
Just like,
No,
Which was-
I went to the other room. Was not watching it.
Because I
I
remember
won't be able to sleep.
I watched I've watched 2 Saw movies. I watched Saw 1 and I watched Saw 5. You can see there's such a clear, different creative perspective
yeah.
between Saw 1 and Saw 5, where Saw 1's like, we have no money. We rented out a single room and one kind of big name actor, and that's all we have the budget for.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, there's this one interesting scenario that's like, oh my god, that would suck. And then the rest of it's like, all right away that like this all makes sense. But
Mhm.
Saw 5 is like, fuck, how can
It's
people
almost-
die
yeah.
again?
Yeah.
Like, how can we kill people in this one? It's like, I don't know. There's like a guy laying flat, and there's like a cleaver going back and forth, and he has to like eat his hands. I don't know, man. Stop asking me to make these.
Those movies got weirdly complex toward the end.
Well,
You're like, he's
especially-
dead, but he's not dead. But he is
Yeah,
dead,
especially
but
because
he's
like the
not.
first movie is like the perfect cliffhanger where it's like, oh my god, he's alive. Like it's like, oh, this corpse that was in the middle of the room is now alive.
yeah, that's right. That was.
It was
such
like,
a
oh,
good one.
it was a great ending. It was like, oh, that was crazy.
Just
And like the
peeled
main,
off and-
yeah, and like in theory, because you're thinking like, oh, the one dude just kind of crawled off, so it's like, oh, he probably bled out and died because he actually sawed off his leg, which was like the one bit of like gore in the movie.
Yeah.
But even then, it was like very edited, so it wasn't like yeah, like this is the good shit. Like cut that fake leg. And it was like, oh, and the main character like still died in theory because it was like, oh, he lost. And it was like, oh, that was great. What a great thing. And it's like, this made so much money.
Yeah.
So let's make it
much money.
But the problem was, it was like, well, the problem is this is such like a convoluted web that making sequels is just gonna make it like even more of like the like when people are like trying to make like all right, now hear me out with like conspiracy theories, and it's like you get like the pieces of string that are going to like 17 people.
Yeah.
That's the Saw franchise.
Bunch
It's
of
like,
tiny pictures of people.
listen,
Basically, what happened to Lost.
But Lost didn't satisfy anybody
I didn't.
or anything.
I know nothing. I just
watched,
know
like,
it got
the first
convoluted.
Season, but I know most of what.
because
happened this
I
season.
watched just about everything else that the guy who made Lost did,
Yeah.
and all of it was short. I think on purpose,
Yeah.
because he's like, listen, I learned my lesson because this
I
was
don't know how to end a long
Th-
story.
this was a
guys.
concept that was like, okay, yeah, this really should not have gone on this long.
Yeah.
Because versus like, 'cause he did like a show called The Leftovers, which is excellent, but that was like 3 seasons, and he did the Watchmen miniseries that was 9 episodes, and he's like, okay, I'm done. It's like that's what he does now.
Was The Leftovers like a dark, like depressing?
Super dark, yeah.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, because it was like about, like out of nowhere, essentially pre-Infinity War. It was, but in that case, it was the Rapture. People believed it was the Rapture because out of nowhere, X amount, like millions of people just disappeared, just faded into non-existence, and no one knew why.
And, okay.
And technically, the show never tells you
That's
what
one of-
happened.
So it really is like a lost scenario.
Oh yeah, like the guy is always like, he doesn't do anything simply.
He doesn't want to answer the questions. He wants to
He's-
leave it to imagination.
Nothing he does is super simple. A lot of it is like Watchmen's the same way, where it's like a lot of things like tying up like multi-decade long stories.
Mhm.
But ever since, because I haven't watched Lost, so I can't comment on like, you know, if and when it fell apart, or
I think Lost was just ahead of its time.
oh yeah,
Because there wasn't a show like that until then. And like without a show like that, you don't get like Breaking Bad or like
Yeah.
it was the first like big budget show.
And it was just on like USA or
Mhm.
something. Like it wasn't on like an AMC where it's like do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's like you're allowed to even say the F word, man, which was like unheard of. Which,
Well, like someone broke down the amount of F bombs that
Breaking Bad. had.
Breaking Bad got to use
was
and
like-
how they use all of them.
It was like 4, but every single one of them was very purposeful.
They were only allowed like one a season, right?
They were allowed once per season. Yeah.
That's
And
who
I'm
makes
Pretty
these
su-
rules?
No, I'm pretty sure it's the networks. Because when
The
it comes
network
to,
makes the rules.
when it comes to TV, they can really do whatever they want. But it's like the.
Especially now, because I remember, like, you couldn't say shit.
Do you remember when it became
Sou-
a thing?
And South Park
Yeah.
did, like, had the counter
Yeah.
at the bottom, because it was, like, it was an episode about how it was just an episode within about, like, oh, everyone in town is excited because a popular show was gonna say the word shit
Yeah.
in it. That was, like, the only reason why everyone was really excited about this show.
That's why I love South
And then
Park.
they say shit like I'm pretty sure hundreds
was-
of times.
They literally end the episode with, like, I was like, oh, if they say it, like, 150 times, like, they'll summon a demon.
Yeah.
And,
That's
like,
what it
it's
was.
like, oh, I can say shit as much as I want. And then shit. And then you just see the
Little
counter.
tickers just
Yeah,
going
like
up
the
and up.
ticker going like it's like the stock market.
Yeah.
And then it summons a demon. But, like, ever since then, like, you'll have shows like now, like Sunny, and, like, even, like, Gore. Gore
Yeah.
was, like, very subjective. But then you have, like, Walking Dead where, like, it's like,
I mean, even the boys.
yeah, in the
I mean, it's a streaming. But
I mean,
like,
I think that's where they get away with it. Is
they
like it's
blew
on
her
stream.
the fuck up in the first like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's like
That was shocking to me.
oh, that was such like a it's this kind of show.
Like they went from the beginning. I like how like every episode had something of like a holy fuck.
Yeah, no, like that was like the second that happens. Oh, it's that kind of show. Like the second you're like,
They literally
hey,
blow someone
what
up.
what if the Flash ran through somebody?
Yes,
It's like, oh, that is
because he was hopped up on drugs.
awful. That is
No, that's what it was. So it was like you see
The big-
like the reality of like if Flash was a real human being and he ran into somebody.
you're terrified. You're like, oh, thank God
That's what
he
happened.
just broke my car windows due to the supersonic force.
Yeah.
Because he could have ran through me,
you.
and I would fade into
To
non-being,
existing.
and there would just be a
He
pile
sw-
of
I
ribs.
swallow their molar.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, and things like that where it's like, oh, thank God Superman's on our
But
side
the
because
worst
what if
part
he was angry?
Was that guy had her hands
Oh
in his
yeah,
hands, just holding her hands. So they were holding her hands, and he's like asking her to move in or marry or something.
yeah.
And like she leans in to kiss him, and
And,
like
oh,
she's holding her hands.
Well, and it's in
just,
slow mo because all you get is just like, wait, what?
fuck
what's-
just
what's-
happened?
what's
So
happening?
This is a Flash.
The
show?
boys. So the
Boy?
boys is like a if superheroes were in modern America today.
super
Mhm.
R-rated, yeah, like
it-
comic book
What
adaptation.
does it sound like?
It's on Amazon.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
And it kind of like almost alludes to how they prop up like politicians in certain sense.
Yeah, because like the superheroes are celebrities.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
and
like,
how they prop up celebrities.
A
and
lot
use
of them are
agendas.
egotistical, shitty people. Be it like it's like
Celebrities.
yeah,
No.
yeah,
like
but
the deep like sexually pressures the newbie.
oh
the
yeah,
first
so
fucking
yeah,
day.
so you have like Aquaman guy who
Basically, like,
who
Harvey
essentially
Weinstein.
like they
Oh, wow.
recruit someone who's like a small town girl
Church
who also
girl.
has superpowers,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, now if you want to be one of us, and then he's like puts her in a super uncomfortable situation.
Shredder puts her dick in
Jesus.
her face.
This
Put his
it-
dick
it
in her
reminds
face.
me of the Family Guy bit. I think it was like it was Aquaman in the water, and he's shouting to
Oh.
a couple on the beach or something like, "Hey,
Yeah, it's like, do you
Right.
need
come in the water."
Yes. Do you need help? It's like, help, I need help. Well, I'm kind of like here.
Love to-
I'm
Can you
kind of.
roll closer to the?
I was like, can you roll her like over here? I'm kind of a water guy. But it would be things like, oh, a guy who's invisible is a huge pervert
Yeah,
who will like hang out in the bathroom and watch people.
really
Oh, the
almost
invisible
like.
guy?
Yeah, like
That
the who's like invisible, but like also like
He's got diamond
diamond
like skin,
So
carbon
he's, like,
skin. And
yeah.
he's invincible, and the way
But then
they murder him is
It's like the
But-
dark parts of
Mhm.
human.
Yeah, and then you have like Superman, who's the biggest psycho.
Yeah.
So it's like scary, and it's like so you like kind
Straight
of
up psychopath, like
Yeah, yeah.
detached.
It's called The
Straight
Boys?
detachment.
The
The Boys
Boys.
on Amazon Prime.
It's excellent.
Yes,
When did
today,
this come
tonight,
out? Like,
a year
It's-
ago,
it's-
2018,
really?
2019.
Yeah, it came out about a year ago because like season 2 comes out in a couple
Hmm.
months because they
Probably not
just
heard about
announced it.
August, right? Or
September.
September.
Yeah, they just announced it. Because do you know anything about it?
no.
Because
Oh,
it's
shit.
essentially about a just a normal guy whose girlfriend gets killed by a superhero,
Flash?
by Flash, pretty much,
Who
Yeah.
runs through her?
who essentially
Hopped
takes
up on steroids.
takes no responsibility for it, and so he gets
They basically covered up like
Okay,
a
I
like a
see.
like a
yeah
like
yeah
a cop
they
accident.
sweep it under the rug
Yeah.
and so he essentially gets absolutely no justice, and then there's this one guy who's like, hey, I know your story.
He was offered
Listen.
like what 20K.
Yeah, and it's like I know how to kill these guys. Are you willing to essentially go on this journey with me to take these superheroes
To
down?
get kryptonite.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I know how to strategically like if you're willing, this is my life's mission because I lost someone because of them.
Well, I'm interested.
It's super good, and it's like 8 episodes, and it's usually like it's 8 episodes of like about 40-50 minutes, and it's so just like more
Yeah.
And they don't rely on the superhero battle. They don't really have superhero battles, really. Like it's
no it's
Well,
yeah
This the whole superhero is having being a part of like the human condition thing.
well,
it's-
you get to see like
Isn't it?
actual like a human being with Superman's powers, like
Yeah.
what
they
it would
do?
actually look like in your
it
brain.
it taps into a lot of really interesting stuff.
Like when you give humans absolute power, it corrupts them absolutely,
hmm
and it's insane.
No, and that's because it's not just because like when you watch trailers, it's just like kind of whoa, like superhero, but it's R-rated, and
Yeah.
it's like oh, it misrepresents the
Don't
show
meet your heroes.
so much.
That's
Don't meet your heroes.
'Cause it
That's
makes-
awesome.
It misrepresents it where it's like okay, it's not just like it's just like it's oh my god, superheroes having sex, that's crazy.
Mhm.
It's like no, it's like a serious like
It's like
look
Hancock
into-
to an
yeah, yeah.
extreme.
it's like serious
a
like
weird
look
psychology
into
in it.
like kind of like celebrities and like how we like treat them and how we prop them
with
up to this
Idolize them and how it
And in
fucks with
turn
them, and
allow
how some
them-
of them are lab made.
and in turn allow them to do whatever they want,
Yep.
but as well as just kind of like the human nature of like essentially trying to do whatever you have to stay relevant,
Yeah.
which like certain characters, certain superheroes are like they take drugs because it's like like someone like the Flash guy is like
Mhm.
listen, there's a guy coming up, he's younger and he's faster than you,
Take the
and it's
steroids.
like it's like listen, you're gonna be kicked out of the league and you're gonna be
Yeah.
a nobody. So,
So
it-
are they part of like the Justice League and
They
stuff?
have
Pretty
like a
much,
7
yeah.
Justice League. There's a 7, and it's
Yeah.
like that's the top.
that's the Justice
And then
League, yeah.
everybody else is like the deep. After he gets a
They're-
sexual scandal,
yeah.
he gets put down in like Sandusky, Ohio.
Yeah, he gets demoted because he has bad PR,
Yeah.
and it's
because
like
he's sexually assaulted multiple women,
and
and
it's
they cut it up for
and
him.
it's things like you have like the Wonder Woman who's like just like she's constantly drunk because everything's a PR stunt.
Yeah.
She's like starting to snap, like it's hitting her.
Because it's
The
like
fake
she's
life.
seen every bad thing that like the Deep has done, that
Yeah.
like the Invisible Guy's done.
And she hasn't lost all of her humanity
yeah,
yet.
but
Yeah.
like she drinks to like numb
Numb
it to
it,
the fact
yep.
that it's like these guys are so reprehensible, but I'm like,
Jesus.
and essentially the corporatism of superheroes. That like it's a very cynical look at what superheroes would become in that reality,
Yeah.
but it's such a fresh take that I was super impressed.
Freshened up the whole superhero
was
genre because
super
it was getting stale.
Yeah.
Superhero genre was getting stale and overused, and that was the first little bit of light.
I was
we've
really
seen.
impressed. Yeah.
Well, the whole like with great power comes great responsibility thing has
Mhm.
kind of always been the superhero thing, but it's like no shit can go wrong. You're like people are people.
Yeah. It's like again,
Fuck
what happens if Superman's a hair off?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, well, he explodes a guy.
Yeah.
Because he like when he like does his little flying motion, he breaks the sound barrier. So
He blinks. And
what do
he
you
has
what do you
gone through.
think that'll do to a body?
Yeah.
But that's highly recommend. I want to watch Preacher for that same reason because it's I was telling Kev, it's Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg who do like Superbad and all those.
There's
They
some-
produced Preacher and The Boys.
Malcolm Barrett was in
And what's Preacher premises?
Oh, Preacher. I watched only the first episode, like way back. But from what I remember, it's um, this Preacher. It's essentially just kind of losing interest in his life, and for one reason or another, some like kind of satanic stuff happens, and he essentially gains the ability to. Did you ever see Jessica Jones?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because there's a character, the villain in like the first season, his ability was like, like, hey, what are you doing in my house? You are going to show me where your money is. And it's like, I am gonna show you where my money is. Like
Jedi mind fucks them.
essentially, and that's like because the spoilers, I guess, for the first episode, just to kind of indicate what kind of show it is. This guy the whole time is nagging this preacher about how like, oh, my mom, like my mom is such a nag. She does this, she does that. Then after like this kind of transformation kind of thing happens, he finally says, listen, go to your mom and open your heart to her. And so he flies all the way to his mom and literally rips his heart out of his chest and kills himself right in the middle of this nursing home by literally doing that, by literally opening his heart to
So
her.
does the preacher know he has this power already?
No, he just like...
Because that's a whole, like, a genie wish type of
No,
situation.
So like he can like Junie B. Jones them and take them to literally.
Yes, Junie B. Jones. I believe that was the writer's inspiration. Junie B. Jones does first grade. Junie B. Jones does manslaughter.
Wasn't that like Junie B. Jones? Like she took things way too literally, or that was Amelia Bedelia.
That may have
you
been
remember?
Amelia
You remember
Bedelia.
Amelia Bedelia?
I do remember Amelia
Bedelia.
She was like dust the furniture, so she put dust on all the furniture.
literally puts dust on the furniture.
It's a-
No, Amelia Bedelia, that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
It's like straight up some sitcom shit.
Yeah.
Just like, no, Amelia.
Amelia Bedelia was my shit when I learned how to read, man.
It was all it's just all those like super catchy names for characters. Junie B. Jones, Amelia Bedelia.
Who were the Treehouse kids, right?
Yeah, the Treehouse Kids. I remember those.
That was they went back in time or trips and shit.
I don't even remember, man, but I remember seeing like there was like so many books.
I
And
read
they-
most of them. You could read most of them in like a day.
I was about to say, then they were always on like the school bookshelves.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, oh, I respect that they exist, but I haven't read them yet.
I think about all the books I've read in my life and how many have actually like made me a better human being, and 90% of what I read in school was just filler.
Yeah, every
Well,
so
it's-
often in
it's-
school there was something that was like, I'm really glad I read that.
Yeah.
Like whether it's just like a good story, like that's
Mhm.
it. But like, yeah,
Just trying to get you to read.
a lot of stuff is like, listen, we like this author. He tests well with the school board, and it's,
Lobbies well for the.
yeah, he lobbies well.
He lobbies well. He gets his name in there.
He reads well, and it's like what was it called? Catcher in the Rye. Yeah, the Catcher in the Rye, where it's just like the worst kid in the world is the main character. Just this kid who's just such a jerk, and
Just a douchebag.
that's just kind of his deal. He's just like a teenager, and he's angsty, and it's like that's the story.
Teenagers love that, though.
That's what I'm saying. Like of all the books we've read,
I dig on that. I too am angsty.
1984 though, good book to read.
But-
I think about all the books we read. Night was pretty good.
Oh, and Night's like 100 pages, and
Night
it's
was
like
a-
and
Night-
everyone
the
and their
author of
mother
that-
should read Night. Yeah,
The author of that wrote a book, Trial of God. That's a pretty good one too.
Ellie Weisel.
Ellie
Is that it?
Weisel.
Yeah.
Wiesel.
We sell.
Yeah.
No, he
whatever.
wrote a. Well, it's written as a screenplay,
Mhm.
but it's set in like the 1600s, 1500s of like a. It was like a Jewish so it was based on a Jewish holiday like a pogrom, and but they would do like these plays and he goes in this bar and it's just a really cool setting, but it's a pretty good book. But it's under like they do a play that's on the. It's like a theoretical like trial. They put God on trial because it's
Okay.
like
yeah.
it's
for,
during like the bartender owner is like seeing all these atrocities and like how like he's a Jewish man, but he's still like,
yeah.
God, if you're real, then you are guilty for letting this happen.
Sure.
And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's based off like they have like a whole like theoretical argument based off that, and they have like a judge, they have a jury, all these
Mhm.
cool things, and
Sounds good.
it's a very good book.
yeah, that sounds really interesting.
What happened in Night again? Like what?
Knight-
I know it was about him in the
Knight was in the
concentration
concentration camp, just
Mhm.
about his experience.
His actual,
But-
almost
camp.
Autobiographical.
Is this
yeah.
okay? Because I remember
Autobiographical.
Yes.
something, but I don't know if it was this one where like he found peace in it, or was this not that at all?
No, this is so.
It
There's
was-
like a
yeah.
there's like a thing of you find presence. You were living in the moment. Like it's like Joe Rogan brings up this point, and not Joe Rogan, but another man brings up like, you were so present in the moment. Like everyone searches for presence, and
What
at
is-
sometimes in times of chaos is when you're most present, and that's why like there's some people who like fall in love with like being in the military, is like fall in love with being in the theater of war.
Because it brings you to that.
It brings you to
Well,
that
'cause
emotional presence, and
This is kind of what Buddhism is all about.
yeah, and
Well, because it's
as
like
fucked
that
up as it
tomorrow.
was, he was
Yeah,
present.
tomorrow some sudden event could happen, and you're no longer your
Mhm.
consciousness leaves
Mm-hmm.
your body, and you're gone.
Mhm.
And that's which again, like throughout the book, it's like listen, all you can do is survive.
It's just
Yeah.
stay present, and survive.
All you can do is survive or give up, because like there's no other
Because
option.
you can't.
And-
He's basically was like there was a thing of like you can't think about tomorrow. You
Oh,
can't.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
just gotta think about right
you
now.
gotta live right now.
Well, your idea of tomorrow isn't real.
Because
Mm.
because like in theory, you may not see tomorrow. So it's like, well, listen, you're surviving on a piece of bread,
Mhm.
and like you're digging nonstop all day every day, emaciated. It's like, yeah, it's like, well, are you gonna give up, or are you gonna keep going as hard as it is? And I think that's
This
a
is
lot of
still-
it.
I read a whole not read a whole, but watched 1804, the hidden history of Haiti, and like wild revelations in that of
Mhm.
like because Haiti, we were not the only thing we're talking about Haiti is how impoverished it is,
Yeah.
but like it was the first successful like slave revolt in the Western Hemisphere over colonialization, and like it goes down to why
What
like
is this called?
culturally what
Why
the
that
1804
works,
history hidden history of Haiti, but it's also like to this day like Western nations won't recognize them as a nation because they don't want to recognize that there was like they don't want
That they did something successful that in theory we didn't.
but it's also like they didn't want like I mean when it happened there were still slaves in America, so it's like if we recognize them
Yeah.
then we recognize their sovereignty. We don't want our slaves to see that. And so it was like it was hidden for so years. It's incredible, and it has Wyclef in it. Fucking like
Wyclef John, is that who it is?
because he ran for a president of Haiti and was almost assassinated. Got shot in the hand.
Oh
What
jeez.
streaming? I want to watch this.
Yeah,
So
I,
it's incredible.
I'm trying to figure out.
I have
what
I have it
streaming
on
service it's
DVD.
I was
Oh,
about
I
to
can
say.
give it to you.
I was about to say which of the 13 streaming services
yeah.
is it on?
No, because it's not an you can't find it on any of the streaming services. Like you found it on like a Facebook link, but I ended up just
gotcha.
buying it because like
You should share that because I want to watch that.
Yeah, I would
Support
I would
Black.
absolutely
no, it's
watch that.
incredible. But it kind of digs down into like of all the tactics and kind of shows the weaknesses of like why it just kind of shows why they were able to do it and so many other places weren't.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it kind of it really shows like how slavery was not unique in any way, shape, or form to the United States.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
no,
just
no,
the
yeah.
United States was
yeah.
able to profit out of it probably the most
Yes. And
and keep it going for.
And clearly, yeah,
this day.
and clearly way too like addicted to it.
It was
to,
like-
yeah.
It was like the final iteration of how we profit. Like they finally got like the slave masters finally got slavery most efficiently ran for them.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
the-
and,
and the
that was
most-
America's was like the
Yeah.
that
And the
in
most
America.
in the most legal way in a modern world you can
Mhm.
have. Yeah.
And it's incredible because like man you will get such a respect for like I don't know if you've ever met a Haitian but man but it shows their spirit and like why
Mhm.
they cling so much to
Oh,
being Haitian
sure.
and it's like it's a pride and it's
No,
just
yeah.
inspiring
No, by all means.
but it's kind of intense at times kind of
Oh,
intense
sure.
I hope so.
it's
I'm
I mean,
sure.
This being real.
well it was very real like it's kind of so it sets up a little bit of how they got there and then it kind of the whole like kind of first like setting is kind of like it gives you the setting of what slavery in the Caribbean was like and it was much not to denigrate or like demean what the people in America went through but it was so bad in the Caribbean that like they couldn't keep the population going that they continually had to ship slaves and then like the life expectancy was like 2 to 3 years
Sure.
and so it was like it kind of just shows all of this it just accurately shows what we've not been taught
Well, yeah. Well, that's exactly it. Because I think what we're noticing a lot is essentially like if this world was Harry Potter, the real shit, the real history is in the restricted section, where where we're not allowed to touch.
Yeah.
We like it's like, oh well, yeah, sure, we know about the Trail of Tears, but that's like
Have you read it from like?
but that's like about 10-minute, like
There's
a 10-minute
yep.
discussion. Like, oh, we were very not nice to
There's a
Native
book,
Americans.
The People's History of the United States, and it goes through basically all major moments in America, and will tell them from the handwritten accounts of Native Americans on the Trail of Tears, or it'll for like Christopher Columbus, there was no survivors of the Aborigines.
Oh yeah.
Original from the island, so like there was a priest in his group that was like, yo, what we are doing is fucked up.
Well, yeah.
And he wrote that secretly, and like the reason it was never found, it was just like it was never written because he was like,
sure, he
wasn't allowed to say
stuck it
that.
away. Oh yeah, well
but
yeah.
it's found his writings, but it's like that's where you find these writings from, and it's like the people. That's why like Haiti, it was I think the original. The people like that claim themselves are Haiti and the people that claim themselves the Dominican Republic, they were all brought over, right?
Yeah.
Everybody that was originally on that island gone, gone.
Yeah.
Like extinct. It's insane what they were capable of, and we were like, and I remember third grade, 1482, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Like that's what we were taught. We like praise this man.
I was about to say.
I was praise this man.
Let's think about think about a fun rime, you guys.
This man was a
Columbus
genocidal
discovered
maniac.
America. Yeah.
And we were celebrating him in class. They had my little 30-year-old third grade ass.
If discovered means
I wanted to be a Columbus-like explorer when I was in third grade, not knowing what the fuck that meant. You know what I mean? Like,
so yeah, and then Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue and committed mass genocide. It's like
We need to bring
you know his 3 boats, but you don't know the.
yeah, I was about to say the Pinta. What do I know about Christopher Columbus? He went the wrong way. It was kind of silly.
He was trying to find China, right?
I forgot.
Or India.
He was trying to find
routes.
India.
Yeah.
Because homie, was trying to find spice.
Because the only way to go is the south of Africa.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know, go that way. Then he's like, Indians. It's like, no, that's not, no.
Yeah.
And it's Indians.
You know what? There's the same guy and his crew also on some of the islands. They found Africans, like Africans that had already been there.
Oh yeah.
So like it kind of brings up the point that we never bring up in history is that Africans already had sailing to the New World, and it brings up the idea, and it's like, why don't we talk about this?
We didn't discover shit. we took shit and killed people. That's what we did. But
that's what there was a comic, a white comic that he had a fucking hilarious. Like, you know what white people invented? Credit. Like we took credit. So it's like they got to the U.S. and they were like, wow, you got a really nice, seen the natives, and like, wow, you got a really nice land here. Who owns it? And the natives were like, well, you know, man, like nobody owns it. We all just kind of, nobody owns it. Well, that's the case. It's
nobody
mine.
owns it, huh?
And since it's my land, get out.
Get out. I got a peeper.
That's what it was. It was like,
This paper says it's mine, so. I mean,
bro, did you see that I licked the land? It's mine now.
This
I got this
flag.
flag.
Yeah, I was about to say, bro, I don't see a flag. Bah.
Yep. It's tough. It's tough.
Sailed the ocean blue.
Goddamn,
And that's like
And leave a
Pinta.
sea of red.
Santa Maria.
But like, man.
But that's what we know, and it's like we get, ironically, we get cutesy. We have the audacity to get cutesy with Christopher Columbus. And it's like the Trail of Tears, and it's like, no, they weren't sad because they were
forcibly
moving.
removed from their homes and told to get the fuck out.
Like they're the main character in like Inside Out, where it's like mom and dad got a new job in a different territory. It's like no. Not only were they forced out, they were like,
given no supplies, nothing.
They
Everything
were
was stripped from them.
They were purposely like being taken out, because it's like, listen, we want this, and we will go to these measures to ensure we get this. So leave. But again, we like see it as like and then they cried all the way to a new territory, like, for good reason. Whoever was alive, yes, was only in grief, and it's just but again, I guess it's like, do we just go dark?
Yeah, with
with
kids.
education? Yeah, it's like,
That
do
sounds
I
like-
tell my 7-year-old, like, like, listen, Chris,
Well-
which I guess it's like, well, do I want to lie to him? No, but
So-
like,
It's also I think we kind of think of like
which I guess
we try to protect their innocence by keeping
Yeah.
them ignorant,
but then
Yeah.
and it's like these kids are capable of digesting a lot more
Okay,
than I
guys,
think
we're
we
gonna
think.
talk about the truth today.
yeah, but then it's like you have the 30-year-old that's like, why are they taking down the Christopher Columbus statue? He discovered America.
That's the problem.
It's like,
with that shit.
all right, buddy.
Yeah.
I like 60-year-old dad gotta lay it
Yeah.
down. Why?
Santa's not fucking real, asshole.
But it's
Jesus
like,
wasn't white.
I gotta like flip the chair over and tell you why when as soon as people were like, listen, we're taking down statues, like, where the fuck is Christopher Columbus's?
Yeah.
Why that was like the immediate reaction was like, well, if we're taking down statues, I know one that should be taken down. I know we have to go to Ohio, but damn it, it's like we gotta sacrifice. And no, I it's tough, but it's like one of those things where it's like you don't have to say Christopher Columbus committed mass genocide. It's just like, listen, kids, he didn't discover anything. Don't look up to Christopher Columbus. It's just like essentially.
You could really leave his name if you're not gonna bring up his atrocities. Leave his name out of it.
Well, yeah, don't even like, because again, what he didn't discover shit. So it's like bring up both his good and bad things. Well, he did nothing good, so I can either
Go out lost, found the land, and killed everybody on it.
Yeah, I was about to say, went the wrong way and killed a bunch of people to steal land that wasn't his.
Yeah.
What part of his story am I supposed to tell my kids? It's like, just don't bring them up. Like, remove that part of the curriculum. And then it's like, okay, well, what else? It's like while, like, it's kind of something where I watched the Mr. Rogers documentary, which I highly recommend, which essentially that was his whole philosophy was kids are such highly responsive and attentive beings, but we don't treat them as such, which is why we assume like certain things.
That's
like
why they check out.
yeah, and like there's
Kids
a
are
reason,
not dumb and ignorant. They know when you're
100%.
bullshitting them.
yeah,
so that's
there's
why
a
they
certain
check
reason
out.
why
Yep.
kids like aren't passionate. It's because
Yeah.
it's like what you don't give them a reason to be passionate.
They look at
Yeah.
you guys and they're like, they kind of see like kids haven't yet lost their humanity yet, and so they look at us adults and they're like, this is not a damn thing to be worried about. And then we tell them it is so much that like it
Yeah.
fucks with their logic, and
Yeah.
they become out these dry, bitter, weak,
Yeah.
victimized adults.
Like there's a reason why like every like kid, unless like they're in the Kardashian family or
Mhm.
something, or unless they're in a privileged upbringing, are like, I'm not gonna be like my dad or my mom or whatever. It's like, because it's like more often than not, it's like, well, parents oftentimes aren't in the best situation, so they
Mhm.
can't like pursue their dream and raise a kid.
Yeah.
So
Because they never had. That's what like we are. I don't think we take for granted our generation so much social media and how much it has freed up the conversation.
Yeah.
And like we are able to see what we are being misled. We are able to see when we are being
it's
mistreated.
It's
we are
much
able,
easier
you know what I mean?
to see.
And it's like where they were kept largely in a do your role and you rewarded
echo
when you get old.
chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's like, listen, you working in the factories is good. You are contributing to society. Enlisting in the army is good. You are serving the country. And it's like, no
Mhm.
matter what you do in either of those jobs, if it's like, I have no passion for life anymore. And it's like, you are doing good by America. And it's
Mhm.
like, well, okay. And it's like, oh, well, I go, overseas in the army.
Well, here's a
back in-
pill for that.
Yeah. And it's like, I go overseas and like, oh, I have to do this awful thing or like this horribly traumatizing thing. And it's like, I really don't want to do this. And it's like, well, you want to serve your country, don't you? And it's like, what? Well, like, this generation is that generation is raised to be like, well, this is serving the country. Me doing this thing is serving the country.
It's we kind of bring it up like a touchy subject, I guess. It's like military service.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like whenever this is where like I remember like not being allowed to talk about politics or religion, right? Like that's like one of those two things you kind of totally stray away from, and it's
Well, yeah. Well, don't bring it up at dinner.
yeah,
but
and it's
yeah.
always like when ideals become unable to be criticized or looked at and kind of fine tooth comb and say, hey, maybe this isn't necessarily right. When it becomes like beyond criticism,
Mhm.
that becomes dangerous because
Oh
now like ideals become like people have this energy behind them, and it's like when like religion can't be criticized, it becomes like this is right way and everything else is wrong.
Mhm.
That's when it becomes like this weird overarching like logical manipulation of these people, and they don't really know how to interact with this life in a way that allows them to be human.
That's why, yeah, like I notice it like when something that in theory is holistic and good,
Mm-hmm.
like in theory, like having faith.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with
No.
having faith,
Having a
but
spiritual
when it's being
guidance
used,
and basis.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
that like absolutely.
Yes.
If it provides you direction or just makes you feel better at the end of the day, by all means, believe whatever you
But
want.
when it starts to
Yeah.
combine and
But as soon as you're,
define
like-
your thoughts,
And you're pushing it on others.
Yeah, yeah. As soon as you're using it as a scapegoat,
Yeah.
like, well,
this is not an excuse to be
the
ignorant.
Bible says homosexuality is a sin, therefore I'm going to verbally berate
Yeah.
every like gay person I see. It's like, well, like you're telling me that again, using their logic,
Mhm.
Jesus, the one who talked to prostitutes and all these people,
Yeah.
would be
Yeah.
like, no gay stuff though.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
listen, I'll talk to prostitutes, I'll talk to anybody.
And that's what
Gays?
that's what it's like. It becomes like this weird thing of like you're not allowed to criticize Christianity for it. Like
Oh,
y'all
yeah.
being hypocritical, but we're
Yeah.
like,
It's my
How?
faith.
it's my faith.
It's my
now
faith.
you're just being like you go
It's
on
like,
you go
no,
on
no,
social
no, no.
media and you will say something factual and they're like, why are you attacking someone's faith? You can't do that. I'm
Yeah.
not attacking. I'm saying something true.
Yeah, or especially when it's like, listen, like when they make policies where it's like, it is okay to, essentially show prejudice towards LGBT members
Mhm.
because, well, it's part of my religion. Well, then you're dipping into church and state territory, which is again something that I guess the century, people of the olden days understood better. That it's like keep religion out of it because it gets messy.
Because the Christian church wasn't the propaganda machine it was back then. And a lot of our founding fathers, for as crooked and wicked, and they were semi-smart, intelligent men who they believed. A lot of them weren't necessarily Christian. A lot of them they believed in some type of deity, or they were not anarchists, but they had some type of spirituality to them. But it was also like they had no religion that they kind of subscribed to or followed.
or that didn't push like my Christianity is pushing this bill forward.
Mhm.
It's like I'm pushing this bill forward because I believe it is a bill that should be in place.
Mhm.
That's it. Like, we want to prevent like for like I'm trying to think of like a more modern one, like the prohibition,
Mhm.
where it's like, we're trying to stop, like alcohol, whatever. What I forgot what the actual behind the things was of
It was
the
it was like the
prohibition.
women's suffrage movement extended a little bit, right? Or was
Yeah.
it Puritan or something?
because like
Because
there
there was
something, yeah.
I remember being in school. I don't know if it was like to move the attention, but it was like women that were just tired of being beat by their drunk husbands.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean?
Jesus Christ.
Sure.
But yeah.
That was the
Totally
beginning
see that.
movement, and it was like,
Absolutely.
and
But-
it had some type of maybe it was some organization, women from a church, but I remember it was like a group. I could be wrong, but I think there was a group of women that like headed that movement. It was also following like suffrage and all that.
Yeah, I was about to say I completely forget what the like prohibition actually like what instigated the prohibition, and then the immediate just like, all right, whatever,
Yeah.
everyone drink, I don't care.
Yeah.
But like
it's the same thing of the war on drugs.
But yeah, well,
Yeah.
well, the war on drugs
Even
is something else too.
Henry Anslinger, Harry Anslinger, the FBI director who started it all.
Oh, yeah.
He was so racist at the time that Southern Democrats at the time were like bro, you might be too racist for like to represent our
Whoa,
party.
whoa. Yeah, I was about to say, you may be like.
But we all
bad.
love that racist shit.
Listen.
But like, bro, you're taking it too far.
Listen, I love seeing everyone that doesn't look like me as second class citizens. However, you can't be so transparent about it.
You gotta be good about. Gotta be quiet about how you do it.
He was about to say like, wait, hold on, this KKK hood is getting a little hot. Ooh, bro, you gotta keep that shit on, man. You can't be like, I can't. It's like fucking like this one scene from Django Unchained where it's can't see a goddamn thing.
Don't ask me and mine for nothing.
It's like my wife cut all these. It's like all that stuff. It's like, wait. You're being a little transparent, my guy.
That's a good point. Like, I think we don't talk about Django enough of like how what the subtle tones of this movie was trying to show is like a lot of the white Southern folk that were like into the slavery running business, like all those people, they talked so ignorant and so and like the slaves were well spoken. And
which again, I loved.
The European was well spoken.
All of them are idiots.
All
the KK
idiots.
members here are just like.
Twisted, like,
shit.
and like you, what I don't think when they're first getting to Candyland and they're at that shack of all the slave holders.
Oh yeah.
Their shack doesn't look any different from like the slave shacks, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and they're all twisted, no teeth, rednecks have these guns, like the dogs, and I'm like, y'all live in a shack in a swamp, and you think you're better than.
Oh yeah, just
people.
reigning supreme. Yeah, absolutely.
But like it's just that's why it's when you look at it like a All Lives Matter, or like you look at a KK rally, or you look like the people who raise the rebel flag, like they're just like, their body is morphed, like your hate has twisted you as a human being, like you age. Like look at you, look at you, like look at like if you look at like people who with good spirit, they age incredibly, and like they want to say, you know how like the thing of like
the unproblematic types just
black,
age.
You ever hear the thing of like
perfectly.
black don't crack? Like black people age so better, and they talk about
usually very wholesome people.
Yeah, but it's also like there's like some spirituality to it, of like your karma, like it helps you out. But like if you look at like those racist motherfuckers, like they are just disgustingly
they age very
built.
badly. Yeah.
Their hate literally twists them. It like it's just gross. It's gross. It's just they deserve that shit though.
Yeah.
Which as people made the goof about how it's like the people who are protesting masks are like the ones that should wear them.
Yeah.
Like
you drink too much Mountain Dew to have any type of immune system.
This is America.
I powered through all of my red, white, and blue dew in the first week of quarantine.
And I blew up the rest of my fireworks.
And I'm freaking out. I set off all my silver comets. I spent all of my severance money. I ain't got shit to do, man.
I just know I gotta keep Trump in office, get rid of these immigrants that's stealing my job.
Too many kids in Fortnite. I gotta pay for Xbox Live for Warzone. I'm pissed, man.
So I kind of like want to take Taylor back to like the like what should we be teaching kids in school, and it's like I never thought I thought we had a podcast. It would just be us goofing around, having a good time. But like the first 3 shows, we've been heavily political, and it's like out of necessity.
This is such a political climate.
Yeah. Yep. It's hard not to be.
But
political.
it's almost like what I much rather be talking about fun shit all the time. But it's like I kind of gotten I was trying to like earlier today. I was like quiet when we first started, and I was on my brain of like everything I've been putting into my mind and consuming has been, knowledge of how to deal with this political situation or like history and just understanding the situation. It's like that's where all my knowledge. Like I haven't done anything fun in so long, and it's. At what point,
it's hard to,
it's hard to, because when you feel like you're having fun, it's like you feel guilty now.
It's like like
suffering.
a lot of people are like living in fear, living in like, and it's like shit. Like I have it so easy that I can just like go to the bar, and it's like I don't have to worry about like again a cop who's having a bad day be like him. Yeah. I'm gonna take out my stuff on him. It's like I don't have to worry about that, and it's really hard. Like, did you ever see the movie The Green Mile?
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of that, where like a lot
Rest in peace, Michael Clark.
Absolutely, like a lot of this stuff is like like how in that movie where a lot of it is like this guy who's taken on all this just literal physical embodiment of evil, and he's just taking it because he's such a wholesome, good person that it's like, again, almost like, I guess, like a Christ figure, where it's like he's taken all the sins of humanity, where it's like,
And they murdered him.
and then and they murdered him, exactly. But it was about how, like those moments where it's like, I need you. It's not enough for me to tell you, like, this is the bad things that happened. You have to essentially, like, I'm gonna touch you and you're gonna experience it. And it's like, and like Tom Hanks's like main character just breaks down crying, because it's not enough to just say like bad stuff is happening. It's like, it a lot of times it does take experiencing those things to be like, not just like thoughts and prayers to, I am so sorry.
I think it's just like it's so hard for so many people to get an understanding of how deep of it and generational of a pain it's been. Like it's even to the point of, there was a man I follow. He's an Instagram influencer, and he did a 23andMe, and he found like about 3% of European descent in him, and he posted something that was extremely like, it's heart wrenching and tearing, but it's like he's like, at that it's that I know a man from this nation was the one that like raped my ancestor and stole my lineage, and it's like, it's to that extent where even the blood in your veins is a reminder of how systemic and generational it was.
How
and it's like,
wronged everyone in your family line
and
was.
we can't understand that because it's like we don't.
How could we?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like you never will, but it's like you have to see it to what's depth. Like it's in the fucking the blood they bleed.
Respect
is a reminder of what happened.
Respect what
this
evil that
yes.
like generationally has just been going, and for some reason we can't stop it. We can't stop the bleeding, and I don't. I guess it, like, in the fact that so much of it is fucking money focused makes me sick.
Part of it, I think there's a little bit of, if we can shift them in America, we have this very like, we are sold a victimhood mindset in terms of we are always acted upon, like we always get acted upon, and we don't have any control or action. And I think it's so easy to fall in that trap of victimhood. Yeah. And it's like, because I get it. Life is stacked against you. But like, this is bringing it back to the Haitian Revolution. The reason they succeeded is because they literally did not fear death anymore, and said it's liberty or death. And that's, they just were willing. They decided that it is better to die than to be enslaved. And it's like, at that point is when they flip the turn and kill the masters, right? Yeah. And it's like, you gotta get to that empowered point of like, and it's also a really cool part of it was like, so Christianity was used heavily to be, it was known as a slave breaker religion.
To dictate,
how people lived. And so it was basically, they were, slavery, like, whether or not it's the foundation roots of Christianity, the Christianity that's taught in the Americas and Western culture is basically, be a good slave and you'll be rewarded for it in the afterlife. Yeah. And that's how they kind of cut slaves down of like a, don't give up your spot in the afterlife. You would be rewarded for it. And it's like Haitians, when they got to, because a lot of people came from Congolese and they stuck back to their roots and their heritage, and they didn't really have necessarily religions. They had a spirituality and a way of life. And a lot of the stuff we call like the voodoo and stuff, like we have zombies, but basically their word for zombies was a man who no longer fears death. And it's also like, they didn't fear death in their religion because there wasn't really a death. It was like, you praise and love and you carried your ancestors' memories with you, so your ancestors were never forgotten. Sure. And so they had very foundational roots, and they kind of clung to their religion, and that's what kind of gathered them and helped them, move the movement. And it's also like in their religion or spirituality or whatever you want to call it, they had no concept of forgiveness, which in Christianity they had heavily like, forgive the person that's doing you wrong. And
not only that, gain forgiveness from God too.
Yes. Yeah. And so they had no concept of forgiveness. So it was, oh, you've wronged me, and I've done everything out of my diplomatic power to do so to make this end peacefully, but now it's you gotta go. Yeah. And that was like, those were like one of those foundational breaking points. And it's also like why this history has been stifled, and like why we think of it. It's like we think of zombies and we think of like their black magic, and when it was none of that. They literally had science, and they used like they use their knowledge of poisons and plants and stuff to like kill their
Dogbrick.
masters. It was in like their whole religion and spirituality was like science and philosophy and all these different things. But then Western culture portrays it as zombies and black magic.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, and it's I think a lot of that does like it's remarkable how again like a belief that listen, you've got to earn your place in the afterlife. And in order to do that, you can't act out of turn.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think that's a huge reason why kind of our society is so, or it for sure was founded on such tight knit, like this is the structure, follow this structure.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, you're a heathen.
Condemned. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's like, well, yes, no, marriage is between a man and a woman, and it's like again, it's like you've like created this monstrosity of again, in theory, this original idea of be a morally good person, and that has its own rewards. Not be good, follow the Bible
Mm-hmm.
so that you meet God, and anyone who does is a heathen and will be punished.
Mm-hmm.
It's like no, that's you read the book wrong. I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately, a lot of people live their life like no. I gotta be good. But the problem is they're not being good because Jesus said you should be good
Mm-hmm.
to everyone no matter what. It was because I'm going to heaven.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's like, oh well, I won't get divorced. I won't do this. I won't do that. But in turn, it's just like either they live miserable lives, make other people miserable,
Yeah.
or judge others because they're not living the tightly structured life that
That's
they
why
are.
it's so like even though we do have separation of church and state, it's like these people are so clung of like it's again that your monkey brain of fairness, your sense of
Yeah.
fairness. So it's like you've been taught you're not allowed to do any of this. And when you see people actually out there having fun and doing things that are not allowed in your religion,
Yeah.
you're like, well, fuck you. You shouldn't be doing that either, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's like these it's funny. The funniest thing to me about the bar is like these just fat, out of shape 40 to 50-year-olds, like just tumor beer guts, like just balding, and they'll say something about a woman's weight, like a 20-year-old, like 30-year-old, like they'll say something about her,
Yeah,
like
it's like
something.
maybe she
And
should
I'm
do
like-
this or do that. Yeah.
Do
It's
you
like-
not look at
so
yourself?
what-
Do you not own a mirror?
Well, and
Yeah.
also, why does she need your opinion?
Yes.
Like what are you offering her?
As these dudes feel like they have entitled to opinion.
Well, yeah, because it's like no, listen, you're a woman, therefore you are trying to earn my approval. I am supreme, and it's just like you sound ridiculous, man. You look
Backwards.
ridiculous,
Bro,
Old
you
thinking.
can't jog 100 meters.
Yeah.
Like-
For real.
Well, and it's like, but I'm different. No, like it's like she is this, therefore her role in society is this, and it's
Mhm.
like, dude, like
Part
have
of-
some perspective.
That's some problem too. Is like I think so many people want to categorize people so they fit this comfortable mold. Now you can kind of see what their next move is gonna be. So it's like we try to have everything of your identity has to have a label in it now. So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
so
you can
you're like
prejudge.
so you can prejudge the person, so
Yeah,
it
yeah.
feels safe and you're a safe, consumable, confined package of me to digest.
Mhm.
When in reality, it'll never be like that. You'll never know my next move.
It's like, oh, I know everything about this person that I need to, so that
Yep.
I can either prejudge them
Mhm.
or befriend them because they're not godless heathens,
Yes.
or or whatever. But it's like, well, listen, they're a person, and more often than not, far more than meets the eye.
And it shows that bilateral thinking. Like it's so crazy to me that like I can say something trashing Biden, and then these Trump supporters will be like, "Ah, yeah, you're on our side." No, fuck
Nope.
you.
Not at all.
Fuck you too, bro. And when you bring it, like I hate them both. Like, what? You could do that?
So you're gonna waste your vote on independent, or
Or I'm just gonna build up. Hopefully, the plan is to build up and be able to lobby like the rest of them. You know what I mean? Because my vote, locally vote. I'm gonna say this is what I'll say. Like I don't want to say don't vote because it's like you don't like voting. Idealistically would mean something. Locally, it does. You just can't tell me it matters at the presidential level. I just can't be convinced because it's
on that scale.
But the problem is a lot of people in our age group are of the same mindset. No matter what, obviously, if like every single millennial in Michigan votes for a specific candidate, and that candidate wins in Michigan, it's like, well, you didn't win in Florida, which is predominantly, senior age, and it's like, sorry, Florida's worth a little more than Michigan, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That is really hard, but I think no matter what, you need to participate because
there needs to be some type of participation. I think our routes of participation
because worst
should
case
be
scenario, you wasted 20
a little
minutes.
bit more than just a check in a box.
It should be.
There should be different avenues. Like we should definitely like look into ways of like how can we, like that's what school should be, is like raising ideas of like how can you be an active and participating citizen.
Because I think it's something where I think voting still has some sort of power, even if like it's super easy to be like just numb to it, just like who cares? Because I like.
Well,
But
I
it's
mean,
like
Biden and Trump, I can't tell me there's a difference
again,
in
it's
either.
no one's gonna feel good leaving
Yeah.
the voting booth come that time.
Not at all.
Like it's just because no matter like everyone is just like, oh my god, ugh. But it's something where it's super important that everyone still show up because a lot of people who are not very nice, not very good people, really count on young people not showing up to polls, and they benefit heavily from that.
When you think about like when weed was made legal and recreational for Michigan, like that next week Wyoming held a vote and somehow got it zoned where you couldn't have a dispensary in the city. But it's like 90% of the people I know in Wyoming smoke weed.
Yeah.
So what part of this population voted against it? Tell me. And why was the vote done so quickly? And why would no one know about it?
Oh sure.
Yeah.
No, and like
There's
it's like
some underground shit going on.
and then things like, oh, why is Mitch McConnell allowed to like keep a bunch of shit on his desk that essentially makes it so a bunch of voting booths get reduced down to 200 for 600,000 people. Yeah. And it's like for a direct election.
No, there was one for 600,000 people.
A one for 600,000.
And there was like there was a couple thousand.
That's right.
200 statewide.
That's right. So it's like okay, why does he have that? Why does he have that jurisdiction?
Yeah.
And it's like why is there no system where it's like, no, you are not allowed to just like, I'm gonna hang on to this for a little while, and it's like, no, you don't. This is your election. You're not allowed to like dictate like how many people can vote in this and that. And I think that's the only reason why voter suppression is, at least they're being transparent about it now, because a lot of people are just straight up like, oh, a couple like mail-in votes, like, oh no, we lost some of them. It's because they know in the end, voting still does have power.
It has power for their pockets.
A lot of people, yeah.
Well, that's why like
a lot of people push.
They're competing they're
it.
competing for the wallet of America, and it's like they're not even really competing for us. So it's like regardless who we get up there, it's just they're going after that wallet.
But I think there are enough. I guess I'm encouraged by some of the people like AOC. Like I know another person in the Bronx won an election recently who is similarly minded, very passionate, and it's like, God, I just need more of them. I love their energy. It's like you don't have to love every single thing they push forward, but it's just
it's also like the first time we're seeing our generation get in.
Oh yeah,
people that speak our language. People that speak our language.
Someone who's a bartender,
someone who speaks our language. Well, it's like that's happened, But it's also like we can identify. Our generation can identify them.
Yeah.
You don't have gray hair. Wow, you're not
Exactly,
senile.
yeah.
Wow, you know what I mean?
Like wow, yeah, you don't know anything. It's like, oh yes, a stimulus of 1,200 should suit them fine for 5 months. It's that should do them. It's literally the Arrested Development joke of like, it's just one banana, Michael. How much could it cost? $10? That's almost every gray-haired politician when they're like, "How? I mean, 1,200 should be fine.
Yeah.
I couldn't live off that, but I'm me.
Mhm.
Those plebeians are different from
Mhm.
me,
Mhm.
and I think that's why you don't make it so it's harder to do something unless you deem it a threat. It's kind of like when like dudes are
Well,
like,
it's also like more smoke for the screen. Like, hey,
oh yeah,
you know
it
what I mean?
absolutely can be. Yeah,
Like it. I don't know. It's just my whole
I'll I'll always
perspective of all of it.
I'll always champion participating
Yep.
because at the end of the day, it is one of the again you waste like 15 minutes, maybe an hour, but it's something where I will always champion it because you can say you did your part.
But
Yeah.
I would like to say though, like, oh, I guess I won't say not vote, but I'm saying if you're gonna vote, please don't think that's where it stops.
Oh yeah,
Participation
Yeah.
stops.
Don't like all right, like I'm done. Yeah, absolutely. I'm saying like as a minimum vote because there's still power in it. Whether how much power, again that's subjective, as we've clearly seen across history.
I mean, we got the people
Yeah.
that's blowing a couple $100 a paycheck
Yeah.
voting on fireworks. You know, they
Yeah.
on fire. I mean, like that's what we're dealing with, and
Yeah.
it's just like mine. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like that. Where it's whenever you talk about like there should be a test for voters, but then it's like, oh shit, they use tests before.
It's
And
like-
that's how they use for racial like.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like oh yeah.
That's
yeah.
how they were able to do it.
It's like that's how they can suppress more people.
So
Yeah.
it's like, do we have an open
no.
vote? But it's like, that's just it's tough. But it's like maybe if our school system actually taught
Yeah.
something.
Better education.
Well, because it's like the whole thing of like whereas other countries are like no, they earn their way to like number 2 in education. It's like no, we just move the bar back so that no one is deemed uneducated. It's like no, we just move the bar for what educated means. And that's
Mhm.
the problem. It's like, well, over time, we're doing the opposite of future-proofing ourselves. We're damning ourselves to a hard, rude awakening.
You're making like the amount of just ignorant, incapable citizens and the generation above us, and I mean just our generation. Like our like I remember it's funny millennials get made fun of for teaching them some skills that like our
like-
parents, the boomers who make fun
Bitch.
of us, y'all the ones who are supposed to fucking teach us.
Yeah.
Also, houses cost a fraction of what they cost now, and like this and that. It's like, oh, when I was your age, like, oh, you could afford a house on a
Minimum
9 to
wage
5.
was actually a livable wage.
Yeah. It's like, get out of here with this.
Mhm.
Don't spin this tale.
A
Yeah.
dollar is worth nothing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Literally hit zero.
15 cents could get you a nice Coke with Coke in it. With like that's some bang for your buck, if I say so
Man.
myself.
There's a weird disconnect, and I just don't know. I wonder if like this pre-social media, like we're still in the infancy of social media. Like that's what's insane.
Yeah,
to me.
and I think what is encouraging is that you're seeing some people that are kind of outside of the system come into the political space.
Yeah.
Like,
Like people who aren't in privileged families.
Yeah.
They're just some guy or some girl,
Mhm.
and they're just like, listen, they're passionate about something, and damn it, they'll work for it to make sure that they can make a career out of using it.
or I mean, like you have people like the new Democratic candidate, like Tulsi Gabbard, even
Yeah.
who like seems like an ideal politician, but that the Democratic Party doesn't have their claws sunk into.
And that's why she won't win because if they can't control it, that's why Bernie doesn't.
Exactly.
Well,
but-
that's
but-
why, yeah, Bernie. They were
That's why,
like,
like, I was like so skeptical of like going for Bernie, but the fact, like, even like your point of like the Republicans, like they work so hard to stifle the vote, but it's like how hard the Democratic Party like fights to keep Bernie down makes
Yeah.
me love him a little bit that much more. Like this man's hated by both parties.
Yeah.
well, that's why, like I remember watching like an MSNBC thing, which they pushed a bunch of anti-Bernie stuff, and to the point where it was like they interviewed live people that they had. It's like, oh, who are you going to vote for? And they said Bernie because people like you, your network,
Yeah.
push him down so much.
Yeah.
and it's like
He doesn't fit your agenda. You're
Yeah.
scared. He's
Yeah.
threatening your
it's like the-
pockets.
like whereas like again, it's like this dude's just pushing basic shit
Yeah.
that we just can't grasp.
That's what people don't understand, that America is already socialist. We are fully socialist without any of the benefits of a socialist nation.
Yes,
Like, you can't own
we're
land
doing
in America.
socialism wrong.
You can't own America. How much do we pay in taxes? Like, once you make a certain point, you're paying 45% of your income.
You're
into the
you're
government.
doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And it's like we are already heavily socialist. You can't own land, right? You can't do you can't do anything in your house without paying the government first. You can't. Everything requires a government money. Like, everything. You transaction money. You transaction a car. Government gets a check. That's socialism.
Yeah.
That's
But-
socialism
But
nation.
it's like
But we don't get any of the benefits of
Yeah.
socialism.
Oh yeah.
That's what our capitalist market is today. We don't have a free market because
Yeah.
the currency is controlled by the entity. That's not already. You can't have a free market if the currency is controlled.
It's
And so it's already like,
it's the casino where the house always wins kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's what America like. That's why we always get taught in high school like the propaganda of other nations and like
Oh, they're doing everything wrong, or
And-
they're doing
but it's
something
like-
wrong. Yeah.
our propaganda is so unladen as part of our culture. Like the Hulu ads, there was this Hulu. I was watching something yet last night, and the Hulu ad was like this whole like this is our coronation ceremony. Like, we're not getting degrees, and it was like this whole inspirational thing about coronavirus and how we're fighting it. But it's like, how much money was spent in this ad that could have been used to actually help motherfuckers with, But it's like we are so focused on this moral, like, uplifting, keep grinding, keep being productive, keep your your foot on the treadmill. Like,
People are focused on making sure the world knows.
that Black
That's what
Mirror
they're
episode that
shooting for.
fucked me up the most was the one where they're bicycling for money.
Oh
Yeah, living in the cubes.
Yeah.
the one
that
with
was-
the Get Out guy.
Yeah, and he's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
he finally gets to a point of being upper class,
Being
and
the-
you
the-
can only see outside.
Yeah, and then he's right back a part of the
Because
system.
he's essentially he's just a part of the system, but he's a celebrity and he's just part of the
And-
program
Which
that
has
everyone
more
watches.
freedom, so he's
And
like,
that's
I guess
why
this is it.
Yeah.
tore on my soul, because it was at that point where I was already starting to disconnect from like this, like I was trying to find my own path, and it was like, man, maybe my path leads me to like fixing something, and that was just like, no matter what you do, you ain't did shit. And it's like he's literally like saying what this world needs, and like you should rise up, and everyone's like, ah.
Yeah.
And,
You know,
people
and
and there's people cheering and identifying with it, but not
Doing a
and-
damn
it's-
fucking thing.
And it's like again it's a British guy who writes all of these.
But like that was one.
It's-
Like, there was a lot of other ones that were like, wow, that's kind of scary. But that one fucked me up inside and like made me depressed, like literally depressed for multiple weeks. It was like there's just nothing you can do.
And that's like
Black Mirror is-
I've noticed British people understand the U.S. more than the U.S. does.
Yeah.
Because two British guys wrote GTA 5, which is one of the most scathing portrayals of.
Well, it's also
American
like
culture.
British
Mhm.
wrote American. Like
Oh yeah.
they sent all of their like they sent all their craziest motherfuckers there, and all their that's
A lot of
people
British
don't
stuff
know who
we
like the U.S.
use. Yeah.
People don't know what the first like they were broke, nowhere going like immigrants who were just sent over so these companies can make money from plantations, from gold. Like that's what it was. It was greedy corporations and broke ass people who were willing to get on a boat, and that was what settled in America.
Yeah.
And to this day, still that like
Yeah.
people don't know like the 13 colonies were 13 basically businesses.
Yeah.
Like the governor was basically a CEO.
Yeah. It's like, all right, make sure I get
And-
X amount of money
Yeah,
by
and
the
it's-
end of the month,
it's like
and I'm good.
There's an alternative. I read like a paper when I was in history class. I was in U.S. history class, but it was like the alternative idea of perspective of how to look at like the U.S. Revolution from what we're taught, and it's so like the 13 colonies were under attack from the French and the French and Indian War, Canada and all that. So the British sends all their troops to the colonies under the colonies' request. Colonies like, hey, help us out, we're being attacked.
Yeah.
And so the British obliged, and because the British got the strongest army, they win.
Yeah.
They kick out the French. They kick out, the Native Americans that were on the French side. And now that there was that war, the crown was like, hey, you guys owe us debt. We fought this war for you. Pay back your debt. And America was like, no,
Yeah.
no. And then,
like-
they fought a whole Revolutionary War because, like, and it was those governors didn't have to give up their lives. They made other poor people do it. You're gonna fight this war for me, so I don't have to pay back this debt.
Mhm.
And that was how America was started.
Yeah.
And people think like France was our, and we get taught France was our ally. They literally did it just to like to get at the British, like because they seen the British were weak and they're trying to get out of British control. Because Napoleon went on after he was dealing with Haiti. The only reason, and people don't know, Haiti saved America from being French colonized after the 13. Because like
Can
so
you
he was
imagine speaking French?
That's what I'm saying.
Yikes.
He was planning an attack on the 13 colonies after Louisiana Purchase.
Yeah.
And maybe not been that far, but he was planning an attack on the 13 colonies and got distracted with the Haitian Revolution because they were actually winning. And he was like, "Oh shit," and never actually did his assault on the. But it was planned. It was a movement, and Haiti saved us.
I heard Napoleon was short.
Short motherfucker. Short motherfucker. Angry motherfucker.
What I know. Nope. Again, it sounds like a kindergarten lesson, but like that's a lot of what we learn. Napoleon was a commander who was really short, and then like later on, it's like, fuck,
Angry, tyrannical
Napoleon
bastard.
wasn't even that short. Like, bitch, every part of that we've been lied to outside of, yes, he was in charge. It's like, he's not even that short. That's how the average person was. I'm expecting a 3'6" guy. It's like, hey, commanding these mass armies. I'm expecting, this tiny Danny DeVito looking guy. Lay down your arms. Yeah, s'il vous plaît. But no, it's just like, it's like, god damn it.
He was like 5'6", 5'8", which at the time wasn't even short.
Yeah.
It's like, bitch, the average American height is 5'8".
Well, it's like back then, like 5'4", 5'6", like
I was like, that was
very average, probably tall.
Yeah. But it's like in our age, like
That's why,
he's
like,
pretty short.
when you walk into like ancient castles, or like even houses built in 1800s, like Lincoln's house, like it was built. Doorways
Short,
were smaller, like hallways were smaller, because like people were smaller back then.
But everything from like just goofy shit, like the pictures of like Lincoln's hat looking like straight up fucking black Doug Dimmadome's hat, like. It's like, oh my god, what picture book lessons were we taught in history? Because that's the shit I remember from the early like teaching days. It's like, Lincoln had a big hat.
Yeah.
And he saved the slaves.
And then your kid goes home. What you learned today? Lincoln had a big hat. Well, what
Lincoln
did he
had
do?
a big
I don't
hat.
know.
Aw, and he had a beard. It's like, aw, that's cute.
And he saved America.
Christopher Columbus sailed in 1482, sailed the ocean blue.
So do you think like how do we fix that?
I think it's
How do you fix that? So this way, should education be state controlled or privatized?
I don't know about privatized, but
It's scary. Whenever you say the word
I don't-
privatized, I get it.
no matter what, it's like, okay, well, who's the one who's in charge? Yeah, who's the one who's dictating? This school or this school. But
And pretty soon, McDonald's Academy is everywhere.
exactly.
That's why it's terrified.
Raising those sandwich artists.
It's like just be honest. Like don't lie. Like if like straight up like, okay, well we want to talk about Christopher Columbus, but we don't want to tell a 6-year-old kid that he killed.
It's also weird.
He committed mass genocide. Then don't bring him up.
Don't you like? There's someone I forgot. Someone else brought this point up.
But
But
then it's
there
like
was a point-
erasure. So
There's a point of like how they scapegoat their children. Well, what about the children? You don't give a fuck about your children. But it's like we don't want gay
Oh,
people
sure,
in front
yeah,
of our
yeah.
kids. But like you watch these R-rated movies of people fucking in front of your kids all the time. Like we don't want this because of our kids. But at the same time, like what you don't do shit for your fucking kids.
Oh yeah.
Keeping the kids
It's like, the second it's like, and
But you use them as your scapegoat.
in Sesame Street we're gonna talk about racism. It's like, well, my kid shouldn't hear about this. If anything, he should hear about
fuck
this
your kid,
because
then.
he should know the real. You should
Fuck
know
them
what
kids.
society has to deal with.
It's probably been exposed to racism, just didn't recognize it.
Because again, straight up, Mr. Rogers, like the moment I think it was after Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated, he wrote a show about what's this a puppet. What does assassination mean? And it's like, well, assassination is when someone dies, and this and that. Like it wasn't sugar coated, but it wasn't like everyone acts like every lesson is gonna be. Every harsh lesson is gonna be yelled at them like fucking Alex
It would
Jones.
be a traumatic experience.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's. It's
Can you
like
imagine Alex Jones in front of a preschool?
that's what I mean. Like, all right, for
The
the
government's full of lizards.
yeah, for the morning lessons, turn a friggin' frog's gay.
All right, people, this is how you form your tinfoil hat.
It's like, okay, let's get a little perspective. We're not getting Alex Jones to like be like, your parents banged, and that's why you're here.
That would be a great skit, though. Like a great, like
Think,
a
think,
good bit.
think of the children, because if you don't, Alex
You
Jones
could do an
will
improv
be teaching
bit.
your
Like if
kids.
you had a, if you had a, if you had a,
That'd be a good, yeah, because
like someone would be Alex Jones, the rest could be the class.
we're bringing in, we're trying to do a little more progressive teaching.
Like, listen, we want to be honest with the kids, but we want to structure it like a scared straight thing. Christopher Columbus killed thousands of people, and you could be next.
He's coming for you.
He's coming.
He never died.
If you don't brush your teeth, Christopher Columbus is gonna come for you.
He's gonna have you for 3 minutes.
brother. 3 minutes of playtime. Excuse me, that's Bonesaw McGraw. Don't insult me. Is a Bonesaw McGraw quote the one to end to close it out on?
I like that.
I think so. Oh man,
Stay classy, world. Fucking
absolutely.
animals.
Yes.
I love you,
Stay-
BBs.
Stay educated.
Also, yeah, thank you guys for listening. We
2.5
appreciate
hours.
it. Dang, yeah, we stayed strong. But yes, we appreciate you guys.
You non-existent
as
fucks.
as we just jump from conversation to conversation,
We're working on it. We're
we
brand
we
new.
we appreciate
We
you.
promise next year we'll actually have it down.
This one is gonna have to be edited down a bit.
How long is it?
It's 2.5 hours.
Oh wow.
we went long, but
We'll keep the raw audio.
I was a little
too,
worried about
but-
having shit to talk about because I was like, man, I don't want to beat this political deadbeat. I don't want to like pin us in this corner, but it's like
yeah.
where we're
I
at.
like how they come up organically, though. It's not like we're trying to
It's
push anything.
yeah, well, and it's again, like I was talking to Mel about this. It's
unavoidable.
right now it's the opposite of like, hey, let's not talk politics. It's about like, well, no, we should, because too long we've treated genuine like social problems as politics, and politics is like a bad word.
It's off the table.
It's like when you bring up I'm kind of on this point of I've been writing a lot about how like we use these words to confine. That's like my whole like when we want to have somebody in a consumable realization of who they are. So we want to know everything about them. So we want to know like you are a tall, straight, white, heterosexual, all these different things, right? Male. Like these are your personality traits. That's nothing to do with my personality,
Yeah.
right? But it's like there's some overlap, but we want to put all these words and so like when someone says that's a conspiracy, now it's like that whole credible idea of like people in our government are leading a pedophile ring now becomes like now it's not real because you label it a conspiracy, but now or like you will label somebody woke and it's like that's how you confine and dismiss like a free thinker, right? Now you're nothing but woke, and it's like it. And yes, woke is somewhat a compliment, right? But it's in context when you hear it, it's like you can not dismiss and confine them to a certain box.
Yeah, but I guess most importantly, everyone stay active, stay protesting, because you're doing good work out there. So
Stay active.
And feel free to tweet at any of us. And, and tell us how dumb we are or
No, I'm
what
fucking
resonated with
genius.
you.
I was about to
and-
say if you tell me I was about to say convince me I'm not, or
Try to
tell me
cancel me,
another way in which.
motherfuckers.
But it's all about discussion and conversation. That's what we're shooting for.
Yes,
so-
yes, please.
Which is the world's kind of
Community.
But
We
yeah.
want to build a community of people who just like to shoot the shit,
and
Yeah.
but with ethics.
reasonable people. But
Yeah, but
Yeah.
thank you guys for listening again,
I love you,
and
BBs. Kevin 31G. on
McKevin95 on Twitter. Follow me for funny retweets.
yeah, you tweet good shit. And you're pretty active too.
Oh
know,
yeah,
like, so-
Yeah.
more than I'd like to.
It's
be.
like my Shyler Emanuel, his brothers, and them, and then it's like cross country people.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
Twitter has died out for the most part, but like there's been a small community of people who have kept it. Like not died out. It's gotten like it's become mostly like a you follow somebody that you don't know anymore.
Yeah.
But like that whole Twitter community of people you actually knew and interacted with, it's kind of died. But like appreciate kept from my favorite. So.
All right.
Take care, guys. Stay active. Love ya.
Mwah.